want a second opinion.
Resident Evil 9 Requiem is the latest and most technically advanced Resident Evil game, one of survival horror's most iconic franchises. Yet just because a game is the latest in a series does not always mean it will be the best or even match quality from the older games. Story, gameplay, pacing, locations, characters, and memorable moments.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
These are what stick in people's minds, and the most important of all is the overall design of a game. Resident Evil 9 Requiem mostly lives up to this, with some extremely high highs, but some issues that need to be discussed. Safe to say there's a lot to talk about, and that's what we do on this channel. In my explained videos, we go through an entire game discussing all relevant scenes, the lore, and anything that might be hard to understand or you missed, analyzing the game's design and fully explaining the story. Whether you've played the game before or you've never played it at all, I've got you covered. It's a lot of information, but I promise it will be entertaining. And if you enjoy this video at any time, the quickest way to support me is to like the video, hype it to help it grow, that's a new thing, subscribe for more, and comment below. A huge thank you before we begin to all my YouTube members and patrons who help keep the channel going. RE9 begins with new character Grace Ashcroft related to Alyssa Ashcroft, a survivor from Resident Evil Outbreak. Grace is currently working at the FBI as a desk job role, writing up a report on an investigation on an unidentified disease that has claimed a fourth victim. She clicks off and we see a news report about the lockdown of Raccoon City being extended to 2040 and hints about wanting to reconstruct the city, as well as an article on Oswell E. Spencer, one of the founders of the Umbrella Corporation. The game then quickly shows a close-up of the newspaper, but if we pause, we can read some interesting information. The remains of Raccoon City Park claim that the missile that hit the city had succeeded in eradicating the infected and biological threats. Despite this, the surrounding area and nearby cities have fallen into poverty, which is interesting because you don't normally think about the effects of places other than the city. But it makes sense, the areas around it would be affected as well. And then a headline about the US government withdrawing from the Treaty on the Prohibition of Bioorganic Weapons. Now this is actually quite a huge plot point because it hints at the US government, cough cough go figure, being more involved than previously thought. As after seeing the events of Raccoon City kill so many people, and then deciding to never use bioweapons being the natural response, to then now claiming we need to stay ahead of terrorists and create our own. Which that treaty was why the BSSA, the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance that many fan-fave Resident Evil characters were a part of, was created to enforce that ban. But now the US government is entering a bioorganic weapon arms race and potentially risking another Raccoon City incident. Grace reading this is interrupted by her boss Nathan calling out to her, which she ignores as she's too locked into the whole government potentially using bioweapons.
Grace! Grace Ashcroft.
Yes?
My office.
Oh, coming. If this is about the report you asked for yesterday, it'll be ready in 3. No, 2 days, tops.
Put a hold on that for now.
Nathan tells Grace they found another body and he needs a good technical analyst on this case, referring to Grace. Nathan tells Grace she has to go to the actual crime scene, and the crime scene is the Wrenwood Hotel, before then revealing he knows that's where her mother was murdered.
I know that's where your mother was murdered. And I know it'll be upsetting for you. Alyssa died 8 years ago. Perhaps it's time for you to face the past.
Right away, we have to question the intelligence or the intentions of Nathan, because saying your mum died here and now you have to go face your past is crazy from your literal boss at a job in the FBI. Like, any other analyst in that building couldn't do this. But then you have to remember the FBI is part of the US government, and from that report, they clearly aren't trustworthy. So it could be Nathan is just really dumb, or there could be something more devious at play. He says he won't force her to go, but then guilts her by making it a favor for him. Personally raising a lot of red flags for classic emotional manipulation. The game then has these amazing title sequences. Now playing as Grace, we can choose to be in first person or third person. I'll show a mix of both in this video, because there's actually some differences. We open up the inventory and take a look at the investigation report for this case on September 28, 2026, an important date in Resi history, as in September 1998, this was when Jill Valentine woke up in her apartment and the day before Leon arrives in Raccoon City. Either way, in 2026 on that day, a body of a man was found at an abandoned hotel in the city of Wrenwood. Now this is already a big warning sign, because you don't really think about it straight away, but abandoned hotel, why would a body of someone who's died from a disease be in an abandoned hotel, not a hospital, not their own home, a rundown hotel? We also get the names of those dead so far, but one name stands out a bit more than the others. M. Warren, age 90, found in a nursing home. This is Michael Warren, the mayor of Raccoon City at the time of the original Raccoon City incident, whose daughter Catherine Warren was murdered by Brian Irons in Resident Evil 2 after he left her with him, because Michael Warren actually fled the city pretty quickly. So how he has this disease is quite the mystery. The case file then states that all deceased were survivors of the Raccoon City incident, with the bodies having black liquids and yellow eyes as a defining feature. Grace also has a personal gun she bought with her first paycheck. The game now lets us walk around Wrenwood City. Reminds me of Gotham and Arkham Knight, you know, the rain, the neon lights. If you try to walk backwards, the game teaches you about quick turning, a very useful feature in the game when being overwhelmed by enemies. We can listen to some conversations, but there's actually nothing particularly interesting, just general rabble about cheating and restaurant bookings. Obviously, graphics-wise, this game looks incredible. The RE engine continues to impress in both visuals and gameplay. We can find a guide talking about the city of Wrenwood, but it's really nothing more than just a normal city. We also can find some missing posters. Grace arrives at the hotel crime scene and gets startled by an overly curious cop.
Hey, miss? Hey, that's a restricted area. You can't go in there.
Why?
It's an active crime scene.
Oh, right, sorry. Just a sec.
Oh, you're FBI?
I am.
Investigating all these strange deaths, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's the 5th one now, right? I heard they all have the same weird bruises, so you think it's something infectious, or terrorism, or... Why else would the FBI be investigating, right? Hey, are you with me?
Oh, there might be answers inside.
Yeah, sure, right.
Grace has clearly already been affected by the whole, her mother being murdered here, and seems to be lost in her head, taking a while to respond to people. Making her way inside, she turns on a flashlight and sees the state of this hotel, and well, it's not exactly 5-star quality. The game uses this sequence to build up dread, having Grace find rotten meat in the fridge and investigate dark, secluded areas. Grace also has to pep talk herself to be able to enter the main building.
I can't. No, it's too much. Come on, Grace.
The Wrenwood Hotel as a location has some amazing art direction. It's actually kind of a shame the setting is really only here as a tutorial, and we never go back. A bloody handprint on a toilet stall leads Grace to open up a toilet and find a certain demographic of gamers festering inside. Returning to the main room of the hotel, Grace makes a terrifying discovery, a picture of her, as she is now with a key taped to it, saying, "Let's talk, room 204. someone's been watching her. Now at this point, any normal person would, call the police or run away. But this is Resident Evil. Those games are never really the most logical, but damn are they fun. So for plot reasons, we have to head to room 204. Curiosity never killed anyone. Before that though, we do look around a bit. We find the Wrenwood Hotel history. It first opened in 1928, and then in 2018, due to some recent accident, they damaged the hotel, and they announced the closure of the hotel. That incident involves Grace and her mother Alyssa. In the office, Grace finds a box of empty large syringes. We then find wire cutters to cut wire on the door. This person wants to meet us, but they really made it very inconvenient. And entering the room 204, there's a radio talking about the bodies being discovered. But more creepy is on the bed, because there's a lot of photos of Grace and her mother Alyssa spread out in an obsessive state, one of which causes Grace to have a flashback to the events of 2018, 8 years ago. Grace is in the hotel browsing Reddit, and yeah, 3cam reveals she was actually on Reddit. Alyssa walks in telling her she needs to get some sleep before getting a phone call that Grace picks up. The receiver asks one question,
Miss Ashcroft?
Yes.
and then hangs up. The power goes off, and Alyssa seems to know something we don't, as she immediately states they are coming and Grace needs to go. We now follow Alyssa through the hotel, seeing it now in its prime state, not run down and abandoned.
Hello? Who's that? Oh, I'm so sorry about the power outage.
What happened?
Oh, it's probably the electrical panel. It's 40 years old, so it doesn't take much to trip it. It's really no excuse, and I apologize for the inconvenience.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I should have it fixed soon. I just need to find my...
What the hell,
No, Grace. No. Grace, stay close to me.
So after that horrific death, the hotel manager being suffocated and throat slit seems a bit of overkill. Alyssa, having shot the hooded man, goes and takes something out her bag and hides it behind a painting. When Grace asks why, she says she will explain later.
What did you hide behind that painting?
I'll explain later. We need to find another way out.
Grace, however, is panicking, and her first thought is to call the police. Understandably, Grace is having a panic attack at the whole situation, which unfortunately causes Alyssa to try and calm her down.
The Wrenwood Hotel. Yes. Hurry, please. The police are on their way. Oh my god. Mom, I feel like I'm gonna throw up.
Grace. Grace, look at me. Grab my hands. Okay, look at me. Look at me. In and out. Breathe in and out. Oh, Grace. I promise you, I will explain this all to you one of these days. Grace. Please know that you are my hope. Never forget that.
What are you talking about?
Just... I love you.
I love you too.
Okay.
Mom, I'm scared.
No. We need to find a way out of here now.
But we don't have any of our stuff.
We can come back for it later, Grace.
I don't know.
Leading to Alyssa being killed by the hooded man, who turns to Grace, saying "found you," before collapsing from the gunshot wounds, and knocking over an oil lamp that sets the whole hotel on fire. We never actually find out who this hooded man was. Grace has now faced her past or remembered it and is holding her mother's picture. The phone rings again, just like in the memory. But it's not the hotel phone. This time it's her personal one. No one answers when she picks up, and she finally understands she needs to leave this place. But she also remembered her mother hid something important behind that painting. Grace moves the painting and finds Alyssa's journal was hidden behind it. Starting at October 17th, 2018, we learn that Alyssa had a freelance job of journalism, but was constantly moving, and because of that, it was hard for Grace to make any friends. Alyssa noticed she was being watched by a hooded man and sees them again the next day and knows someone is now stalking them, and she can't let anything happen to Grace. The game then has a classic in the Resident Evil mechanics of rotating objects to discover more about them. For example, there is a CD that is attached to the inside of the journal's case. Grace is confused, but gets scared when the officer called Cole from earlier appears looming over her. He's clutching at his neck.
What do I do? Come on! I'm stuck!
The game introduces another mechanic here that's never really used again, evading the infected Cole's shotgun blast while trying to break free. It's a very tense section, with zombie Cole attacking Grace, even with Grace stabbing him in the eye not being enough to take him out, and resulting in Grace being bitten on the arm by an infected zombie. Now you would think this means game over for Grace, but this particular infection is different than the original Raccoon City one, as if you've noticed, these zombies retain some form of memory and actually speak words. More about this will be explained later. For now, Grace runs away, unlocking one of the doors and managing to push Cole out the window where he is now on the street. Grace then starts to hear music coming from one of the rooms. And inside finds a large man sitting down on a seat listening to a vinyl.
Hello?
It hasn't been easy. After much effort, here we finally are. I'm the one who planted that body. I know now that you're the one that I've been searching for. The special one. The chosen one. Miss Ashcroft.
Someone locks the door behind Grace as the man grabs her and chokes her unconscious.
Rest now, Grace. We have so much to do.
The game now switches to our second playable character, fan favorite Leon S. Kennedy. Requiem's overall gameplay is split between these two. Grace's sections playing more like Resident Evil 7, focused on horror, exploration and stealth, while Leon is more like Resident Evil 4 or maybe even 6, fighting waves of enemies with weaponry, action and virtually no stealth at all. It's a very interesting choice by Capcom to try and please both sides of the Resident Evil fans, then almost get the balance for this perfect. Leon arrives in his black Porsche, for some reason that was some of the marketing, at a different crime scene, investigating the same disease that Grace was. The mission coordinator, or Sherry, the little girl Claire saved in Resident Evil 2, informs Leon the team they work for has found information on a potential suspect who had ties to Umbrella. And I mean, looking at his clothing and style, he's not even trying to fit into normal society. We get revealed the name of the man who knocked out Grace is called Victor Gideon, who was a former T-virus researcher.
Someone with ties to Umbrella. Victor Gideon.
A little subtle moment I like here is Leon's silent response to Sherry asking if he's okay while looking at his gloved hand. The whole case revolved around Raccoon City survivors dying and missing cops is very much reminding him of the traumatic event of the Raccoon City Police Department, with him being a new recruit at the time of those events. Leon then arrives at the Wrenwood Hotel just in time to see Gideon carrying the unconscious Grace over his shoulder in the middle of public.
What's going on? Is she okay?
Oh, she's fine. I'm just taking her home.
Leon, what's your sit rep?
I'm going after Victor.
Weirdly, we then see the now infected woman cry for help before kissing a random man, which then turns to her biting his nose off. We now get the first sequence of Leon gameplay in third person, but he can be switched to first. Shooting enemies will sometimes stagger them, leading to Leon being able to melee attack with animations changing depending on if you are running or beside certain environments, like a wall. Such as here, where kicking this woman sends her to the wall, where she reacts to it and gets knocked down onto her knees. Leon can use the brand new hatchet mechanic to finish off an enemy and explode their heads like watermelons. We also get taught about stronger but slower hatchet attacks and the quick hatchet attacks. Now obviously the stronger one is more likely to stagger the enemy, but it's slow to build up, which can lead you to getting grabbed easier. However, quicker as well, more likely to get grabbed because there's no stagger really. Like most Resident Evils, getting grabbed is the thing you want to avoid. You can sometimes use the hatchet to fend off the grabs, but you have to make sure that sharpness meter, like in Monster Hunter, by keeping your blade sharpened, which would keep its usefulness up. So Leon's gameplay is pretty much the ultimate action hero fantasy. Your inventory is infinitely larger than Grace's, you have much more combat efficiency and athleticism. You also face a lot more enemies as Leon. In the background, civilians are being attacked by the zombies, but you can't actually save them. Once you hit the zombie off, they just drop dead, despite seemingly not having any wounds. If you are grabbed, you just have to spam a button to get the zombies off while it drains your health. Leon then pulls out the Requiem, the name of the game, and a gun. But this will go down as one of the most fun and iconic weapons in gaming, because this thing could destroy Raccoon City on its own. A portable hand cannon being disguised as a stylish pistol. One shot can pierce through multiple enemies and deal massive damage, and because of this, it's got very limited ammo. Leon also has a unique animation. If you were aiming the gun on a very low health enemy and shoot in the melee range, you can perform a stylish finisher depending on the weapon. Enemies in Requiem also can pick up their own weapons from the environment and use them against Leon. While Leon can't pick up these weapons apart from chainsaws, he can instead throw them from the ground if an enemy is within range. All these mechanics really help combat feel action-packed without being overwhelming or frustrating. Taking the time to explore, you can find more handgun ammo and herbs. In the UK, we say the H. Obviously, combining this with another green one makes a stronger heal. Sadly, the red herbs are missing from this game. And so is the first aid spray. Now replaced by the exact same thing, being medical injectors, but less nostalgic, and it's just kinda lame. A hint of the game trying to lean a bit too much towards the realistic or the modern, which is not what people want from Resident Evil. Now this isn't actually something new. RE7 and RE8 also didn't have the herbs or first aid spray. But that was also Ethan's story, so I was kind of hoping it would come back for Leon, just some classic nostalgia. Leon takes out all the zombies and loses Victor Gideon, but Sherry was researching Gideon and found he had purchased a building after Umbrella's bankruptcy. Leon then takes off his glove and we see the same disease killing all these people has infected him too. Both Sherry and Leon are running out of time. Grace finds herself strapped down and also upside down in some kind of medical chair, in an unfamiliar room. Her jacket having been removed and never to be found again, sadly. A great insight into Grace's intelligence is her calming herself down to think how to escape this situation. She notices her blood has been removed by a tube into a big jar. So she grabs the tube, knocking over the medical equipment to break the jar, now using that to cut her strapped down arms. That was a great way to show while Grace is a panicky character, she's a lot more of a planner than someone who tries brute force and analyzes more than she reacts. While her jacket has been removed, she's also been bandaged up. The room Grace is in seems relatively normal. A nearby note talks about blood extraction at 10:03. Checked the pulse and found no abnormalities, and then administered Dexifil, which is actually a drug or steroid called Dexafil in real life that is used to treat inflammation. For some reason, Gideon has been extracting blood from Grace. As we look around, the note said we are in the middle of Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Center, or more simply, a sanatorium. Which, if you don't know, is a place for caring for long-term health issues, a hospital that's also like a resort, resembling a hotel. Normally quite secluded and a perfect location for a Resident Evil game. Exiting the room, it's extremely dark. Turning on a light switch in the hallway, it just barely flickers. Another one barely produces any light, but a small empty bottle rolls down towards Grace and we pick it up. This is another mechanic in the game used to draw enemies to where the sound is. It can also be saved for later crafting recipes. Most rooms are locked, and at the end of the hallway is a fuse box, with naturally one fuse missing for some reason. Bars trap Grace in this section, but suddenly the intercom turns on. Whatever code 6 is, it sounds urgent. But at least we know more people are in the care center. Grace finds a cherub key in the desk and manages to unlock one of the rooms. We now have the typewriter that lets us save our progress. Grace finds a lighter on the desk and a fuse, but it's locked behind a box that requires a tool. Trying to leave, the ceilings begin to shake and the lights began to rattle. But we have some source of light now, a metal lighter. One of the other rooms is now mysteriously open, and this one is a children's hospital ward, with a book called Shadow Ghost by Harriet Jones.
Harriet Jones, former Prime Minister.
Yes, we know who you are.
Reading through is a very short story about something hiding in the darkness, that ends with big writing saying to stay in the light. It's not exactly a great children's book, but it's a good hint to how we are going to have to try and survive this section. The clock on the wall tells us it's 11:08. A nearby note tells us the screwdriver is now in the nurse's station in a toolbox. We now go back to that room that was too dark we couldn't see, and opening the door, an infected body falls on Grace. She makes the observation the man licking blood everywhere and not breathing is dead.
He's dead.
The evidence is right under your nose, John, as ever you see but do not observe.
Is that what?
He's dead.
However, a large, monstrous hand grabs the body and eats the head before chasing Grace. Now, what's cool about this section is if you're in third person, since Grace is faster, she'll actually fall over more and trip to keep up with the first person. Also, ignore the Lady Dimitrescu costume. Strangely, that costume also has another buff in terms of anatomy, but we don't need to talk about that. She quickly runs back into the room with the light, and like in the story, the monster who is referred to in this game as the girl burns in the light. The girl then climbs up through a hole in the ceiling. We head back to the dark room and the monster isn't there, so we can go further and find a med injector to heal us. This room is covered in gore, and it's clear that the girl was feasting in here. A cart blocks a locker and we have to move it. However, moving it too much causes an object to fall and clatter to the ground, alerting the girl to where Grace is. Interestingly, you can do this section if you move it slowly without alerting the girl. There's a lot of small details and variation for how you solve puzzles or make progress in Requiem. With the girl reacting to the sound, Grace ducks under a nearby desk or tray it's hard to see in the dark. The girl actually will explore around and swipe at objects, which we take advantage of to make it back to the safety of the lit room. This time the girl has learned to not even attempt to enter the room. Climbing onto the cart, Grace finds the toolbox and the screwdriver, now able to get the fuse and escaping the patient ward. However, the girl intercepts you when you try to go down the corridor. Running back to the safe room, this time when the girl climbs up, she breaks the light, removing our safe haven. So you have 3 times you can enter this room, and while it does provide safety, it does take up a lot of time. Another option would be to use the bottle to direct the girl to another room, and then sprint past the hallway, saving you time, but using one of your resources. These are the choices you have to make in Resident Evil Requiem. So now we are forced to find a way to another light source down the hall, but the girl has also opened access to another room where we can hide till she goes past. Grace then unlocks the one-time fuse, but as she does, the girl comes crawling down the hall beside her. A small chase section, and Grace manages to escape, or almost does.
Come on, come on, come on, come on! Let
The game then cuts back to Leon arriving in his car at the entrance to the care center.
Welcome. Dr. Gideon has been expecting you.
Funny. I don't remember getting an invitation.
Well, he's waiting for you.
Can't have that, can we?
Follow me, please.
How long have you worked for, Dr. Gideon?
Not long. I just recently joined the team. Care for quite a few long-term patients here, all undergoing experimental therapies developed by Dr. Gideon.
And we can see from the skeleton, this place has hidden cameras everywhere. Leon then finds a picture of Gideon with the staff, and he really stands out as a monstrous-looking person. Suddenly, we hear the same Code 6 intercom warning that Grace heard.
Code 6, all staff initiate emergency protocols.
Mr. Kennedy, we need to leave immediately.
So it seems she doesn't actually have any clue to what's going on. And as she's speaking, one of the doctors appears, but he's very clearly zombified, and manages to speak out words. You may be wondering why Leon isn't reacting, and you would be right, because this is one of my least favorite scenes in the game. The doctor uses a chainsaw and Leon is playing on high ping or something. However, I need to talk about this scene and why it annoys me so much. And it's because Leon straight up just let this person get killed. She may have been suspicious, but it's better to keep them alive, and Leon is a character who will always try to save everyone. This action is very out of character to me. He barely reacts to a live person being killed and instead does a funny but badly placed one-liner.
I think I want a second opinion.
But that's stuck between wanting Leon to be the badass one-line equipping action hero, but this action's kinda just made him look a bit psychopathic. This cutscene then transitions into another Leon enemy wave fighting section, teaching us about the hatchet parry, the single most important gameplay mechanic for Leon, and also teaches us the fun and horror of chainsaws. You knock them out of zombie's hand and that blade will still spin and hurt you. Leon can pick it up, but he has to wait. However, zombies can pick up that chainsaw as well, and they can pick it up quicker. However, they're also zombies. They can't exactly wield it well, but if they do catch Leon, it's a one-hit insta-kill, because it's a chainsaw. Now, YouTube ain't gonna let me show most of these death scenes. Surprisingly, this one is relatively tame, all things considered, but some of them in this game are the most brutal ones I can think of in a while. Think Tomb Raider 2013, for example. If you know, you know. The best way to handle combat as Leon is to parry everything, like the chainsaw here, blocking an attack, destroying the sharpness, but saving your life. Sharpening is also relatively fast, but should be used with caution, because you are completely vulnerable to every attack when doing it. Parrying an attack will also temporarily stun the enemy, leading you to be able to most times execute them with a hatchet to the head. Again, melee attacks are the most satisfying thing ever, and when you get that lucky environment hit, it's the stuff of magic. Once the chainsaw stops, Leon can pick it up and swing it around, decimating everyone in his path. After a certain number of attacks, he will stick it in them and kick it away. Surprisingly, this doesn't actually break the chainsaw, and you can just pick it up again afterwards.
Well, that went well.
In the next corridor, we find our first Raccoon City bobblehead. Destroy them all and you get to upgrade your weapons to a further tier. The other collectible you want to seek out and find are the files that kind of explain all plot points and lore. Sherry hacks into the network of Road Hill. She really reminds me of Oracle from the Arkham games.
Hacked into the center's network.
Leon's gameplay then catches up to where we left off with Grace as she tries to escape from the girl. This time, however, Leon uses the Requiem gun to kill the girl and save Grace. It's very cool how Leon and Grace's sections match up. It's very Ada Wong separate ways from Resident Evil 4. This does actually stop happening a bit into the plot though, and it's kind of disappointing, but it's also quite unavoidable due to how the story plays out.
You okay?
Yeah. Thanks.
Leon Kennedy, DSO.
CSO. I'm Grace. Ashcroft. FBI.
FBI? What are you doing here?
Someone kidnapped me.
Victor Gideon?
I don't know.
Well, we should leave.
Gideon locks down the hospital with iron bars by pressing a button, and he's now separated Grace and Leon again. Leon, however, gives Grace the Requiem before the shutters close and says Grace must be important in some way if Gideon has kidnapped her. Grace also correctly identifies Leon works for the DSO, a counter-bioterrorism agency. Leon then finds Dr. Gideon is right beside him.
She won't get away, you know.
Dr. Gideon.
So nice to finally meet you, Leon. Why don't we have a little talk?
Too slow. I see you're exhibiting symptoms too. Umbrella's curse.
We now cut back to Grace and what is one of my favorite design sections of a game ever. Grace in the Road Hill Care Center. One character detail about Grace that I love is how she trembles when aiming the gun at the start of the game because the situation is so scary for her. And you know, she was working a desk job in the FBI and has now been thrown into a nightmare. But later parts of the game, her aim will steady as she gets more confident. Finding a save room, which is the greatest feeling in this game for safety, because these are also safe rooms. Come back here after making any progress, and they're your best friend, because you can sort out your very limited inventory at the item box. And as Grace, you're going to have to be doing that a lot. You also get charms that you have to place in your inventory to be able to use it. It's a trade-off, more damage or other benefits with less inventory space. Though in this game, inventory space is everything, so it's not really worth it in the early game. A note in the save room shows us the staff of this establishment, with the director being Gideon, transforming lives through medicine for quite a while, and the chairman and the manager, and lead researcher. Their motto is Dignity of the Moon, Trust of the Suns, Serenity of the Stars. We are partners. And you will find this group of people really love that motto and stars and suns and moons. The whiteboard scroll says unauthorized personnel are not permitted past this point. To be honest, with the stuff going on in the care center, I feel a plaque would be better written than just an easily wipeable whiteboard. It does show, however, most of the staff here aren't aware of what Dr. Gideon is doing, just that he is quote-unquote improving lives with experimental treatments. On the table is an antique coin. These are very important for this section of the game, and it's also kind of a shame because they're only in this part of the game. These can be exchanged in a room called the Parlor for prizes and upgrades for Grace, making the player actually have a reason to collect them beyond just collectible. You can actually have gotten one in the girl encounter if you climb on the tray before moving it. Grace then exits the guard office and enters a door to make a very disturbing discovery. In the darkness of the room is a bleeding out man and a blind child sitting on a bed in a lab cell, fully visible at all times.
What on earth? Who's there? Is someone there? Oh, I'm sorry if I surprised you. Cataracts. You can't see, can you?
Grace correctly identifies this little girl's condition as cataracts, when the eye's lens is cloudy, which doesn't actually cause full blindness and can be cured with surgery. But then again, she's also in a lab cell, so that's clearly not the priority of whoever has her here. Grace looks to the other cell that has a messy bed and a small hole in the wall. The girl simply says everyone's gone, and the injured doctor wakes up still dying, screaming for Grace to stay away from the little girl. The doctor then dies, but from his body, Grace finds a keycard to access other parts of the center.
I'm sorry. What is happening here?
In the other cell is a doll, and this doll ended up being part of a hidden final puzzle challenge that I accidentally found one of the steps to, but the others involved using actual real-life knowledge of the moon's distance and the sun, so yeah, that's a fun idea that I think more games should have endgame puzzles, kind of like Call of Duty zombie Easter eggs. Grace uses the key card to unlock the West Wing, and it's here Grace has her first unique zombie encounter. In the kitchen is a chef or a butcher zombie cutting down onto some meat. He's obviously zombified, but this is where we get our first glimpse just how much consciousness, or more specifically, memories, the zombies with this new mutated T-virus keep, still doing their jobs and repeating their last thoughts before they were infected. It's creepy, interesting, and also pretty sad. And the best Resident Evils aren't just scary or funny, they have sadness in the atmosphere. And the zombies represent the loss of normal life in environments that should be full of life. It's why the care center, the mansion, the Raccoon City Police Department as locations work, and why, for me, more typically scary basements or underground areas don't in these kind of games. A cave or basement is creepy on its own, but it doesn't really have much history beyond people were imprisoned here or people were mining here. But in lived-in locations, there's always the remnants of humanity in the notes, the environments, and just the visual art direction. These zombies having memories are also one of the puzzles in the game. Unlike other Resident Evils, most of the puzzles in Requiem are in the gameplay. There are, of course, still the traditional puzzles, but what stands out is how you tackle each encounter. For example, the chef, we have a tray of soup that can be pushed. But if we take our time and examine him, we learn he has a pattern. He cuts into the meat, then he says next, then he dips his hand in the blood bucket soup thing. We can push the tray, when he's distracted with cutting, to try and make a path to the door. However, you could also push it and run between the gap, but the chef doesn't just stay in the kitchen. None of the zombies will just stay in their area, they will follow you around the whole building. But he can hit the part all the way, saving you time, but now you also have a one-shot killing chef chasing you. Because if you're caught by him, it's an insta-kill. It's a very good, tense section, and exiting the kitchen, we aren't in safety yet, as there's now a zombie that's obsessed with turning the lights on and off. Everywhere you go at the start of Grace's section has an enemy near you. The constant feeling of never being safe feels like a horror theme park ride. Each corner is a new scare, and the only way to escape would be to go back to the save room. In a bathroom is a maid frantically scrubbing the blood on the mirrors. But if you look at her face, you can see the glass of the mirror as she's tried to wipe the blood with her face, still retaining her last job, forever stuck in a cycle of cleaning. What's cool about the maid is whenever you kill a zombie in another area, that maid will then go over to it to try and clean it up. But that's exclusive to the maid zombies, or the cleaners. For now, we just wait for her to go back and forth down the bathroom and get a herb. I think that's what's the most tragic part about these enemies, is they were not minutes ago just unknown accomplices of the evils of the hospital. Apart from the doctors, of course, the cleaners, the receptionists, the lesser priority staff, they thought they were actually doing something good, and for their loyalty, have had their lives destroyed. Turning on another light switch, we get the attention of the light-obsessed zombie, and now we can progress. Really fun game design, having to analyze each threat and the environment. In the dining room, we hear some singing and find another gun, but no bullets yet. For now, this location is like a maze to us, not knowing where to go and what lies ahead. But the beauty of Resident Evil games is exploring the environment over and over till it becomes second nature. Sneaking around, Grace makes it to the piano room with the singing zombie. Now this lady, we find out from notes, her name is Selena Corey, who was a beautiful woman patient who was suffering from histrionic personality disorder, basically extremely attention-seeking and high ego, and a desire for the dramatics in clothing and behavior. That's another great part of the environmental narrative of Requiem. Finding out about the zombies or the enemies you encounter, their names, their bits of history, makes the whole thing even more tragic when they aren't just another mindless generic enemy. But for now, Grace avoids her, and we find more antique coins. I actually disposed of one of these because I forgot that in Resident Evil 7 you could unlock items with them. However, you can also find more than you'd ever need, so thankfully this mistake didn't cost me like a later mistake does. Opening a door at the end of a hallway, we end up back into the main part of the building, safe from all the chaos. This is one of my favorite types of location designs, when the area loops back to the start and you unlock shortcuts. It's actually why I think the Raccoon City Police Department is a perfectly designed location. You will always find your way back to where you started, and with the knowledge you've gained, you can do things quicker or choose to avoid dangerous areas. This looping design technique gives the area a sort of puzzle box feeling. You start completely scared and unsure of which direction to go and everything feels overwhelming. As you make your way through, you learn and adapt to the situations, and then you understand the location isn't actually massive, and you can get to places pretty easily. It's one of the most satisfying game experiences you can have, balancing horror with discovery. Now, Leon has only given Grace one ammo in the Requiem because he used it to kill the girl monster, so timing is everything here. I decide I'm going to take out Selena and the other zombie in the piano room, because that would make a safer path and let me look for more items. Not wanting to use too much ammo, I use my Requiem shot and to great effect as the enemies explode and pierce through, taking out all three of them. And then on Selena's body is an antique coin. We find a safe, and safes have passcodes. You can only really find in notes as well. So we're going to have to come back to this, but they almost always have good rewards. With Resident Evil games though, there's a hidden mechanic that most veteran players will know of, and that's reanimating enemies. If you don't destroy the head or burn the bodies, zombies you thought were dead have a chance of rising again, or even worse, a chance of mutating into a more dangerous zombie. Basically, it's all chance, but it means stuff can be very unpredictable. A corridor you thought was safe could end up being your worst nightmare. More notes talk about how they have to get out the building, but they need quartz, just impeccable building design. And all the staff have started killing each other. We make our way into the chairman's office, and the chairman, called Mitchell Bennett, who is the moon of the team, has also been zombified. He's holding a bottle of wine and will attempt to chuck it at us. After defeating him, Grace finds a note of an email copy to Mitchell talking about a new hire who shows promise and to bump up their clearance to work on the project. This further confirms the staff were auditioned and then chosen if they were to know about what was going on here or just be normal staff. Mitchell was clearly in on all of this as well as part of the leadership. Then opening a chest, we find a red gemstone and a pencil on a desk. A note in the bin talks about receiving a visit from the DSO, or Leon, and that when he arrives to enact Code 6, as Gideon has achieved his goal, the goal being testing Grace's blood and the virus he's made, and he has no need for the care center anymore. We can conclude Code 6 was actually to infect all the staff. Those in leadership didn't escape this fate. If we use the pencil with a cut piece of paper and we drag it across it, it reveals a code for the puzzle cabinet in this room, or puzzle boxes. Moon, Sun, Star, Moon. We can now enter this code in the cabinet, in which the puzzle can also be brute forced, since there's not exactly many combinations it could be. The Moon, Sun, Star all refer to the leadership except for Gideon. Unlocking this, we get the Moon Quartz Cube, one of the objects we need to escape the whole care center. We also have that red gem to use, but as we enter back to the corridor of the West Wing, the chef has now begun wandering around. Then find a door that slots the red gemstone in, unlocking the parlor. In this room, we can trade the antique coins we found for vital upgrades, increasing our inventory space by 2. The other upgrade permanently increases Grace's damage, or a health upgrade, or an upgrade for a mechanic we haven't even unlocked yet. It increases the capacity of the blood collector. On a body in this room is the East Wing keycard. We can also spin the roulette wheel. Turns out you have to shoot which color you think first, and if you win, you get an antique coin. I didn't know this until I'd finished playing the game though. Grace now starts to explore the East Wing, and it's a lot less grand than the West, more lab and medical. In one of the rooms is a body that has its stomach open. This is one of the more ridiculous puzzles in the game because the keycard is under the shackle. That's the item we need to progress. But to get it, you would think clearly we need to break the shackle. But no, you have to find organic body pieces and place them in the stomach. It's dumb, but it's not like game ruining. In this room, Grace also finds the greatest invention ever made. The hemolytic injector that destroys infected blood cells and prevents corpses from mutating, while also just exploding them entirely. This lovely device will actually insta-kill most enemies if you sneak up behind them, or also when staggering them. It's not an endless ability though. Grace is going to have to craft these from resources found, resources that instead could be used to make more ammo or health restoring items. Sometimes when getting grabbed by an enemy, characters will shove them off and take no damage. It's kind of random when this happens though. Entering another medical room, Grace finds the blood collector, the tool used for crafting, and Grace's standout exclusive ability in the game. This lets us collect infected blood, and with that blood we can craft solid matter. Don't question it. Yeah, it kind of makes absolutely no sense how infected blood can make gunpowder, but it's hella fun. Yeah, surprisingly, what might seem like a time waster is actually one of the funnest non-combat parts, because while blood can be found around the place in buckets on the floor, or even in baths, why is there a bath in the toilet? Most of the time though, the blood will come from enemies you defeat, which actually gives you an incentive to take them out. We can upgrade this blood recipe by scanning certain items and doing an atom minigame where you have to make them all red, but each atom turns off and on a different one. It's a minigame, but sure. In the waiting room is probably the fan favorite gameplay zombie, the noisy zombie. This zombie naturally hates noise, and this particular noisy zombie has a name, Martin L-Case. A patient medical file tells us he was experimented on with an overdose of a fictional drug called Zapreval that caused him to have auditory hallucinations and go crazy whenever hearing loud noises. As Grace, we can use this to throw a bottle and he will go wildly attacking anything he sees, and many times killing normal enemies and even can kill boss enemies. He's very dangerous, very powerful, and very useful. Just don't make any noise around him yourself.
Ew!
We head back since we found many coins to the parlor and get the blood capacity upgrade, letting us collect more blood. Grace then heads up the large staircase where two zombies are at the top talking to each other. We run past them and pick up the map for the east wing, then on the floor find another wristband. And a massive oversized baby man thing comes crashing through the wall. This is one of the Chunk twins, this one in particular being Thomas K. Jackson. Suffered from irregular eating patterns, so as an experiment, they surgically removed the part of the brain that feels fulfilled or sated. This caused them to gain an immense amount of weight and appetite and look like a mutated baby that consumes everything in its path, and I mean everything it can get its grubby little hands on, including living people like Grace herself. Chunk, or Thomas, will now wander around parts of the East Wing, and he can't actually fit into many doors. He's just a hallway enemy. But he is now an active enemy who we need to watch out for because he is a one-hit disgusting kill. But with the ID band we collected, we can now access new rooms in the East Wing we previously couldn't. This unlocks a shortcut for us and lets us find a very important note, a background check on Grace Ashcroft herself. The date of observation, starting in early September, with the name of a detective being M.D. Birdie, who was hired to observe Grace. The investigation revealed where she was employed, her hobbies and schedule, and how Gideon can make contact with her that will raise the least amount of suspicion. Grace finds a save room nearby and a lockpick. These are used obviously to pick the locked locks on desks to get even more resources. In this desk we get rarer metal, the only crafting tool that lets you make requiem shots, so it's very valuable. Grace can also find a makeshift knife that lets her use it once when grabbed to prevent damage, but then must be retrieved from the enemy. They have very low durability, but they can also be wielded as a weapon if you want to save ammo. It's very risky though. You can also craft a makeshift one into a superior knife that lasts longer. The chef has become a bit of a problem wandering the hallway, so I test a little theory. Can the hemolytic injector be used on boss enemies? So I wait, then sneak up behind the chef, and it works, and insta-kills this dangerous one-hitting boss enemy. And then from his body, I get the pantry key. Now I love this, because normally a game would have a very specific way to kill or solve a situation. And while that's true for most puzzles, for enemies, my own logic actually worked, when I really didn't expect it to. Because you can also shoot the chef many times, damage him enough, or just don't kill him at all, and he will wander around the whole wing, becoming a real nuisance. But the game rewarded me for thinking outside the box and trying something risky, and that's one of the best feelings a game can give you. The game didn't tell me that this would kill the chef, it merely stated it could be used on enemies. If the game had simply said, you cannot progress until you kill the chef, sneak up behind him and inject him, that wouldn't be rewarding, or that fun. It's just a checklist at that point. But now, due to our own experimentation of the gameplay, we have used a precious resource to gain a key, and that key lets us open the pantry, getting scrap, ammo, and a unique charm for killing the chef, and a lot of blood buckets to refill our blood capacity. This charm increases the knife durability and the damage. It's very useful and well worth getting. As a bonus, eliminating the chef has now made exploration even more easy, no longer having a one-shot dangerous enemy roaming around. However, in the East Wing, Chunk still remains. But by killing the chef, we can now use that logic to try the same tactic on the wandering boss enemy, Chunk. And the prompt does appear. However, Grace tells us that wasn't enough. So unlike the chef, Chunk requires 3 injections to kill him, and that's a lot of crafting. Grace then finds Victor's journal in November 30th, 2004. He was talking about his master's research being complete, and referring to that child who must be the final piece of the puzzle, and that if he gets his hand on the child's data, he can complete his master's vision. Then in December 8th, 2004, the organization, this group got Gideon the child records, and it was lacking in many areas, so it's incomplete information. However, it included the girl's genetic information, and he says he can use this. Remember this note because we're going to come back to it at the end of the game. We then get a transfusion bag. Simply just use it to fill up the blood collector. Crafting the last injector, Grace sneaks up behind Chunk and explodes him into, well, chunks of meat. And from his body is the I Spy charm, which increases the chance of surviving fatal attacks or taking damage. Again, to use this, we would have to take up one of our valuable inventory slots. We then enter through where Chunk originally burst through and hear another singing zombie. Now, the singing zombie's attack is when spotting Grace, they will scream loud, awaking all the other zombies in the area and stunning Grace. Some of the Dogda zombies actually use a large bone saw to attack. There's quite a lot of variation. We managed to crit headshot the singer, so she ain't getting any backup singing. Her name was Eileen Zimmerson. Her symptoms were persistent vocalization and wandering around, despite in-game her not wandering very far. For her treatment, they surgically, cause, well, we could have seen that coming, removed her cranial nerves, which gives her the same disorder as Selena, the other singer, but slightly different as they name it main character syndrome, and like the name, the person thinks they are the main character in their own movie. Selena's symptoms were more noticeable and she would put on performances in the West Wing's bar to compete with her rival, Eileen. Grace then finds a bottle of corrosive acid that we can melt a lock to access another symbol puzzle. However, as soon as we enter the room, we get a cutscene, the first one in literal hours of game time.
Miss Ashcroft. Come in. I won't harm you. I was just looking for Dr. Richardson.
Why did you kidnap me?
Kidnap you? I liberated you.
Who are you?
Oh, forgive me. Dr. Victor Gideon. I run this center. It took forever to find you. You're not like other people, you know. You're quite unique. Through you, Elpis can finally be set free.
Why me?
Oh. Because my master made you who you are. Phase 2.
Gideon mentions something called Elpis. Gideon then mentions Phase 2, and the game shows us what looks to be a mutating patient at the isolation ward. This scene also shows Grace's quick thinking skills, running away and blocking the door with a chair, then slamming open the other door but running to hide in the same room.
Grace! There's no escaping your destiny.
Afterwards, Grace looks in the photos to work out the puzzle box's password, and inside is the sun quartz and a leather-bound notebook. A note inside explains how to unlock an organ transport box, but the actual notebook is Master Spencer's, which is Gideon's master is Oswald E. Spencer, one of the founders of Umbrella. It's not really that surprising when you remember the building was owned by the Spencer Foundation. But Gideon has been looking at Spencer's research on a mutated T-virus strain that uses the T-virus to control memories, will, and mind control. And this explains why the zombies are repeating their last memories trapped in their pre-infected characteristics. It's not just a cool gameplay decision, it's part of the story. Spencer was always trying to evolve humanity, and Gideon seems to be continuing Spencer's legacy and trying to pass memory through blood, since knowledge is power. The research also suggests that the mutated T-virus will sweep the world, meaning an end to humanity. Grace returns back to the little girl in the lab cell.
Did anyone hurt you?
Because I can't see?
Oh, no, that's not what I meant.
It's not my fault. Doctors gave us both medicine. Made our eyes go bad. My friend, Marie. When it happened, I was happy it wasn't me. Is that bad?
Grace then enters a garage after finding a wrench. And it's pretty big. There's a lot of cars down here, but more importantly, the organ transport box. As Grace picks it up though and tries to leave, something breaks through on the other end of the wall. A zombie in a bulldozer starts speeding towards us, and we shoot on instinct to kill the zombified driver. Drivers and pilots never really have a good survival chance in these games. The bulldozer keeps moving but gets caught in the ambulance and stops. We then examine the organ box and the note do the puzzle to successfully open it, which reveals artificial lungs. After going back round, gathering the coins, unlocking all the upgrades and safes, Grace uses a wrench on a door and the handle falls off and unlocks a freezer room that has an artificial heart. It's very Gorister looking. If we had kept the chef alive, he would have been roaming around this hall and he could enter this room, making it a lot more difficult. Now with the two artificial organs, we return to that room with the body that has its stomach opened up. And the zombie returns to life. So we kill it, we get the wristband. Does it make sense? Not really, but it is a puzzle. With this level of ID access, we can get to the isolation ward. Inside are some pretty interesting notes. A nurse's log talks about Subject 171, who is emotionless but also blind and also a she. The security manager then asks Subject 171, a child, questions about blood, which the child didn't understand, and the nurse found him a very strange man. Whatever experiments going on here are highly tied to blood and memory, and the leadership think the child should know something about it. This child is clearly the one Grace has been talking to. Another note talks about a double mutation. When corpses infected with mutated T-virus regenerate over time, and they become very violent and very quick. Their heads are a massive red blister. These are officially called blister heads. Not the most creative name. I would have gone with a half-lick. Gameplay-wise, avoid at all costs. If the cysts on it burst, the fluids will also turn nearby infected into blister heads. The hemolytic poison prevents this from happening to corpses or destroying the head. So now we have another reason to potentially destroy the heads of corpses, but you know, that uses up a knife or ammo. In the isolation ward is the security manager Luke Clark, dead on the table. It seems none of the staff but Gideon have survived. One last puzzle box is in this room and it will give Grace the star quartz cube and let her escape. The issue is the buttons are in Braille. Though it wouldn't be too hard to brute force, Grace remembers the girl and sees a picture on the table.
These girls, they look just like... You're the one that locked her up.
Unlocking the other cell, the doll is in there. Then Grace goes to free the girl.
I'm with the police.
Police?
Yes. I'd like you to come with me.
Why?
I'm Grace. What's your name?
Emily?
Emily. You like reading?
Yeah.
Do you think you could read something for me? Please, I really need your help.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll take you there. There are steps. How about I carry you?
We now carry Emily around, but have to put her down on the sofa if we want to do anything. Grace needs to get back to the isolation ward, so the smart thing to do would be to clear a path, which thankfully by taking out chunks and most zombies, we've already done. So it's kind of an escort mission or carrying mission, but the pathway isn't too long, so it's actually not too frustrating.
You think you can read it?
I can try.
It's like a giant puzzle box. Stay here, Emily. You handle this. I'll, handle that.
Grace now has to defend Emily by fighting a small wave of zombies in this tiny location. It's a very tense moment, and the head of security wakes up and he also attacks us. Worst of all is we see a blister head mutation. And yeah, you pretty much do have to use the Requiem on them, so great, you have the ammo. And after that, Emily unlocks the puzzle Braille box, but gets taken away, with the last star quartz also getting taken away by the girl, whose head and brain have regrown, who jumps down a hole. So Grace's escape has gotten a whole lot more difficult.
This is all my fault. I can't just leave her. Oh, God.
We catch up with Leon now, who's been tied down to a chair by Gideon.
Why are you here? Is it for me? Or for her? We can talk. Right. Or we can begin your treatment.
Silent treatment, I hope.
You're an investigator, right? We'll investigate. What do you want to know? Is this where I conduct my research? Yes. Are the answers to your disease here?
You know, I do have a question. When's the last time you brushed your teeth?
You are an ignorant fool. Do you believe in human evolution? I have devoted my life to studying it, while you have devoted your life to failure. You're a dead man walking.
Hey, can you hear me?
Leon, I've been trying to reach you.
Sorry, I was a little tied up. Did you get what I asked for?
The floor plan? Yeah, sending it now.
Leon finds the note about the Chunk twins we talked about earlier, and Grace has killed Thomas K. Jackson, but there's still Timothy B. Jackson. So we all know what's coming next. Leon finds himself in the care center's attic and sees the Thomas Chunk twin eating another zombie. This is a boss fight that has you do enough damage with the shotgun and pistol to then hatchet him in the head. A common theme with almost every single boss fight in the game with Leon. But you have to keep a good distance from Chunk, and he eventually knocks down walls, which allows Leon to climb higher up and do a jumping melee attack. Eventually, after enough hits, Chunk goes down and explodes just like his brother.
Sorry, but I'm not on the menu.
Leon can use his hatchet to open up warped cupboards. We get a gun part that upgrades a stat on the gun or improves aiming. What's very fun is Leon is running through the same wings we just played through. But as Grace, we had to be stealthy and wary, and enemies you left alive will actually be there when you play as Leon again. If you killed many, that also carries over. You can also really see that the building isn't actually that large when you can just run through it. There is still some enemies around, but Leon can take them out very easily, as sneaking up behind enemies as Leon is an insta-kill with the hatchet, and unlike the injectors, that doesn't run out. Leon eventually makes his way into Victor's office, which has a ton of bodies, and gets overwhelmed by blister heads. We can really see how blister heads can dodge and move like a human licker. But like with most enemies in the game, parrying at the right moment is an easy way to take out almost every single enemy in the game, including boss fights. Grenades also help though. Leon then finds a hidden switch, activating an elevator in the office, finding Victor's more secret office. Which, not gonna lie, decoration-wise, he could have made it a bit nicer. I know it's not priority, but you know, you had people build an elevator, but you didn't want to make it look more evil basey. The computer needs a password. Guess what he was trying to type in the comments below. And entering the wrong password causes an emergency lock that lets Sherry get the IP address and hack into the files. Video game hacking logic, I don't know. Sherry then finds a lot of info about the Raccoon City Syndrome, the illness both her and Leon have. We now get a file that's very censored, but is to the White House Chief of Staff mentioning Elpis and Raccoon City.
Sherry, you're killing me.
I found some information about our illness. Our symptoms confirm a T-virus infection.
Wait, at least we're in it together, right? Alright, what do we got? Elbridge. Grace, what's she got to do with this?
We now play as Grace again, having followed Emily and the girl down into the underground. This is probably my least favourite section of the game. Well, apart from one section that isn't really a gameplay part. It's not bad in any means, it just is nowhere near as good as what we just played in the care centre. Maybe because the location is so dark and linear. But also, like I mentioned before, underground areas, they're already scary, so it just loses some of the charm of having normal places be corrupted. It's also a part from when replaying the game that just isn't as impactful or fun as a first playthrough. And that's an issue with most Resident Evils. There's sections that only really work on a first playthrough, which is fine for most games. But Resident Evil games always encourage you to replay them, to unlock challenges, etc. basically. So I do hope in the future they think more about the design on subsequent playthroughs. This area seems to be like a prison, the save room having many TVs showing the cells. Though what's odd is the game is set in 2026 but has the most low-tech TVs. The note on the table talks about the operation to eliminate the girl, and since they have a weakness to light, they have placed ultraviolet lamps around the basement, the official name of this area. It's safe to conclude at this point the girl was Emily's friend Marie, who from experiments has mutated into this monster, the girl. Before mutating, she escaped through a hole, and that made the mutation have a weakness to light. And looking around, the monitor further supports this, as Emily is unharmed in a cell surrounded by dolls, the only person the girl has let live. Grace comes to a long corridor in the basement with cells on either side, and I make a decision that was probably the worst mistake of my video game completionist career that just started. Turns out me thinking I'm going to kill this zombie in the cell because at some point it's clearly going to get released means I missed out on the zombie breaking out scripted event, which has an injector upgrade, which lets you choose to craft permanent more gun damage or more health for Grace, and there's only a few of these in the entire game. And there is no other way to get into that room, because even when opening said door later on, it's a scripted sequence, and it doesn't let you get back there. Now I can't really nitpick this too much because I chose to kill that one zombie out of all in this corridor, but I would have liked it to not just mean I can never get that unless I restart the entire section. And this is already my least favourite section. Grace then finds Emily in the cell, and looking around at the dolls, we can figure out that the girl, or Marie, collects dolls and places them here. Unfortunately, the electricians in this place made the worst ever power plan of using joint plugs to power the holding cells for the prisoners, and only 3. And you can only power up certain areas at a time, and removing the first one has the girl appear at the end of the corridor. She thankfully can't, or doesn't, come down the entire way unless she spots you. So as you've guessed it, this entire basement section has us as Grace avoiding the girl and powering up sections to create light or places of safety. It's not the worst mechanic, it just means a lot of backtracking in a very small area. We also unlock the crafting room for Molotov cocktails, pretty useful against the girl if you don't want to use our limited Requiem ammo. We find a security guard's report saying that the infected subjects were provided to them here and then turned into blood in the processing area. So the security guards were evil as well. And we can see body bags with tons of corpses on hooks all swaying and lined up in a conveyor belt. It's some kind of corpse party. We remove one of the plugs there, and when crawling back through a vent, the girl grabs a corpse and eats it. There's also a section where we can't walk across the floor because it caves in, so instead we have to go through the fan right beside it. This kind of just adds the tiniest amount of time to already get into our destination, so I don't really get the point apart from that's a small thing. And it's definitely a nitpick, but it just adds a little bit of annoyance to the area already building up with annoyances. Which again, it's so dark we can't barely see anything. Grace makes her way to the processing room and a massive grinder. Now this is a part that also shows a gameplay design choice that just isn't that fun. We take a key from a forklift, but this key is needed for a forklift on the other side of the map where the hanging bodies were. And this isn't anything new to Resident Evil, backtracking when getting an item. The problem for me is just the design of this area. It isn't fun to navigate, it's basically a straight corridor path with you turning left and right at some points, but also having to slowly go through vents. And most of the area barely looks any different, so the girl becomes less scary at this point and more just frustrating to deal with. It's just an extra annoyance in already having to go right back to where we literally just were. The game also tries to add in some zombie enemies, which as a way to show players where to go, and that's a pretty clever way to do it. A new enemy banging on a door you need to go through. But the way to the save room is always near, and that just takes any fear out of this encounter. Stuff gets overwhelming, it's very easy to just get back to safety. Unlike the care center where we had to go through an entire wing. Adding the key into the forklift, we can now enter the body conveyor belt room. And this part is very unique. The conveyor belt starts and the bodies start moving in an anti-clockwise position. Grace has to get in between the gaps from the zombies and body bags, but if she gets too close to a zombie, she will be grabbed. However, this doesn't do any damage, it's just for a scare. Then she has to circle back around and reverse the conveyor belt to properly be able to get through the bodies. It's a really clever idea that's pretty creepy, especially because some of the bodies fall off the conveyor belts and get up. Now that she's on the other end of the processing room, Grace sees that the bodies are being dumped into the water, which is why it smells so bad. Turning the valve drains the water and shows just how many bodies are down there. Now, however, she can go across, grab the power plug, and then leave back the way without having to insert the power so she can actually escape this room. Again, one of the worst building design power mechanics known to humankind. Just drain water constantly to be able to escape. I think they should make a spin-off Resident Evil Constructor game, have us build these labs and buildings as a simulator game. Of course, as soon as Grace steps down, the grinder activates and we see the purpose of this machine is, just like mentioned in the note, to turn these bodies into blood, specifically infected blood. Unfortunately for Grace, the ladders are raised up while the grinder is active. If you get grabbed by a zombie here, you are basically dead, just due to the time that it would take to get off you. So this section has us have to dodge zombies for a specific amount of time until the grinder stops.
Processing complete.
It stopped.
Grace now has all the plugs and can free Emily. But as she walks through the pipe, she slips and the blood that was just grinded becomes a water blood slide that Grace goes down before landing into a massive pool of blood. Probably the most infected you could ever be with that much infected blood in your system. Grace then puts all the plugs in, opening the cell doors, including Emily's.
It's me! It's me! It's Grace! It's Grace! Calm down. Grace? Yeah. We gotta get out of here.
She goes and collects Emily, and we have to run to the elevator.
Hold on tight. I'm scared. Why is it so loud? It's gonna be okay. Just don't let go. Come on. Come on. It's just putting you down.
Sacks block the door from closing, so we spam a button to remove it just as the girl climbs up to the outside of the elevator.
Come on! Go faster! Grace? Are you hurt? No. I'm okay. That's good. Good, Emily.
She opens the roof and we have to shoot at the girl to stun her, then pry open the doors.
Let's play.
The way this cutscene was shot really made it look like Grace lost her leg. Thankfully she didn't, or that would kind of be fatal.
Grace? Are you okay? Yeah. How about you? You okay? Here, I kept this safe for you. Thank you.
With the last star quartz cube now obtained, Emily and Grace can escape the care center. Grace, realizing that Emily has no home and was just an experimented child, suggests to Emily if she wants to live with her.
Come on. Do you maybe want to leave with me? It's not safe here. Okay.
You can put Emily down and explore stuff you might have missed, or re-enter the care center once you open the door out. But we've already gotten everything we need. Opening up the back door, we look up on a stunning courtyard. Really reminds me of Batman Arkham Asylum. Lit lamps, trees, and stone walkways and architecture. Sadly, this location, despite being so intriguing and having locked gates and looking to be a pretty sizable area, has no actual gameplay section, or enemies. Yeah, this was disappointing because I mean, it's so nice looking, and I'd much rather we didn't have the dull basement and instead had zombies out here with Emily being taken to a shack in the woods or something. I know, I'm getting into wish fulfillment instead of what the game provided, but I do think it's a waste that a location that feels like it was specifically aesthetically designed to appeal to me has nothing to actually do in it. Grace and Emily make their way to a helipad, spotting a helicopter that should let them escape.
Hey! Stay right there!
Hey, it's okay. We're not infected.
So you're normal?
I think so.
Those things still running around?
Who are you?
You don't need to worry about me.
I'm tired. I know.
That your kid?
What?
This? Old war wound. I can't run away even if I wanted to.
Can you fly this?
Sure can. My boss took the key. You know, I could fly us all out of here. If you go get it for me. It's in there. I'd go myself, but I can't outrun those things, not with this leg.
Come on. Gotta strap you in. Oh, I'm Grace, by the way. This is Emily.
Harry.
Thank you, Harry.
No problem.
I'll be right back.
So Grace now has to get the helicopter key for Gideon's pilot called Harry Reid and enters the house nearby. On the table is a record of a visitor called Z, with the purpose being a project review with Gideon. This room leads Grace to a very interesting looking office with syringes and bone saws displayed. A file on the table talks about the experiment progressing to phase 4 and a request for a blockade to be extended that they must obtain Elpis before that deadline. Finding a metal helix, an incomplete one, we look around the room to see what would fit it, then find a bottle of wine named Sangrius Virginis. I think I said that right, meaning blood of the virgin. The same one that Lady Dimitrescu produced at her castle in Resident Evil 8. Rotating this bottle to match the grape image reveals it's hollow inside and hides the rest of the helix. Inserting that into the full model, the whole room turns into an elevator that goes down, revealing another hidden lab in a hidden lab that's a hidden lab. This is a common occurrence in the game. We also find more of Spencer's research here. This tells us that Spencer was researching memory transfer through blood, as blood cells contain memory information, with the original T-virus letting them control blood cells. This updated experiment was to be able to transfer valuable knowledge. However, for such a procedure to succeed, the host must be able to withstand the toxicity of the mutated T-virus strain while preserving their own intelligence. Sourcing viable subjects will be the key to future research and testing. Gideon is looking to continue this research, and the failed attempts are making the memory-based zombies. And since it's linked to blood, the failed attempts are also making Marie, the girl, a mutation. Grace then explores more and finds a massive dome of blood connected to chambers with human subjects connected to it. Tools are extracting the infected blood from the subjects into this big dome to collect it all. Grace then finds another record on Marie with them administering into her the extracted blood, probably to test if she gained the subject's memory. Instead, Marie gained increased physical resistance, resilience, but mental instability as they escaped, then ending saying, "confirmed for disposal." A cold statement of "it doesn't work, get rid of it," about a human child. She finds the helicopter keys beside the computer and unlocks the door on the desk, and finds her own blood analysis report comparing her information with some other data, and it all matches perfectly.
All tests have come back positive. I can confirm that she is indeed the one that we've been searching for. If all goes as planned, Elpis will soon be in our hands. Of course. But first I must initiate the protocol. I've done it. I've done it. I've done it.
The way he does an evil laugh, stops it, and immediately just locks in is hilarious. But from that convo mentioning the name Zeno, we now know who that Z person who visited was. Suddenly though, an alarm goes off and Gideon has set this area to self-destruct to hide his evidence that he no longer needs, since he has Grace. Though she's also missing to him, so he doesn't actually have Grace, and he kinda has to hope Grace hasn't been killed by all the zombies he's let free. He's kind of an idiot. Grace, however, needs to escape in this area before it blows up or overflows with blood and drowns her. She really has had the worst time in getting covered in blood. To make matters worse, the specimens have also been set free. You can either choose to run past them, shoot them, or find disposal tanks that you spray onto them to make the zombies blow up. You do have to keep picking up new ones though. The infected blood actually starts making blister head mutations, and the glass dome of blood bursts, sending waves crashing into poor Grace. This section is short and sweet, a fun set piece that doesn't take too long or have any frustrating parts, just running to escape the blood water that's filling up, and some dodging of falling cabinets on the stairs. Reaching the surface, the zombies have reached the courtyard. One issue with this game on PC is the cutscenes sometimes go out of sync. It's pretty annoying, and I couldn't really find a fix. It was just random when it happened.
Reese, what's happening? It's okay, Emily. I'm here. Emily, it's gonna get a little bumpy. I'm right next to you.
No, lady, I'm gonna need you up front.
No, it's okay. I'm all right.
Come on, come on, come on.
Oh, there are so many of them.
Strap in.
Oh, come on!
What's it look like I'm doing? Okay. No shit! Hold tight, I'm taking off!
Like all pilots in Resi Evil or drivers, it's never going to end well for them. And yeah, a tree in a stomach is a rough way to go. We now have a Leon gameplay section of defending Grace against enemies with a rifle from the rooftops, a fun distraction from the survival horror. The chef also appears in this section, which is kind of ridiculous when I blew him up, so it's either another chef, or canonically the chef isn't killed by Grace. Either way, it's just some strange continuity. You also can't let the chef get too close, or it's a one-hit kill. After clearing out the zombies, Grace eventually manages to break into the chapel, and now as Leon, we can follow after her jumping down the rooftop and landing on a zombie, then blasting or slashing whatever undead enemy is in our way. Or going Uncharted 2 and throwing propane tanks. Inside the chapel, Emily has been injured.
Grace.
Leon!
Who is she?
Oh, this is Emily. Help me, I can't stop the bleeding.
Hey, look at me. We're gonna be okay. Yeah? Can't stay here. That should be the way to the water treatment plant. It's our way out. Let's go.
Oh. Whoa!
They just don't give up.
Leon now has to battle an overwhelming amount of enemies in the tiny chapel. Blister heads, zombies with weapons. There's almost no room to move. This is probably the most Resi 4 section in the entire game. It being in a chapel doesn't escape me either. And to make things even worse, there's a new enemy type, one that rarely shows up actually. And this is a Blisterborn, having cysts on its body and is a further mutation of blister heads, with its gas able to turn regular zombies into, you guessed it, more blister heads. To defeat this thing, we gotta shoot the cysts, but doing so unleashes the mutation gas on nearby zombies, so it's a pain to deal with. Leon leaves the chapel to catch up with Grace, who has gone underground. Back with Grace now, with an injured Emily. Underneath the chapel leads, not to catacombs, but sewers. Everyone's favourite level theme that's in every single game in some way. A sewer level. I really gotta wonder why we still make sewer levels. To be honest, they aren't even necessarily bad locations. They just rarely have anything interesting creatively done with them when they could have stuff creatively done with them. Switches, murky water, tunnels, and sewage with ladders most of the time. And that's a sewer level. And Resident Evil Requiem also doesn't change this formula, but it does make it very short, and that's why I still like it. It's also not actually the sewer part we technically play in. Grace puts down Emily in a room to rest while she looks for a way out. The mission objective kind of spoils it though, because it's open the hatch on the girl, the character we haven't seen in the sequence yet. And pressing a switch starts to open the hatch roof. But it's Resident Evil. There's never enough power despite them being designed electronics that should not have this issue. So as Grace, we go even further down into a metal cage-like maze area, where the girl is roaming around again. Thankfully we have lights we can turn on this time when she inevitably sees us. These lights are always beside the power distribution units we need as well. So this part isn't really difficult, nor offers much variation. There's only one solution. But again, it's just so short that it doesn't overstay its welcome. There is slight differences in each distributor though. One of them requires tapping while the girl walks towards you. The Requiem shot or Molotov is needed for this part to stun her long enough. The final switch simply needs a crank lever, which is found in the room connecting to this one, so this is just pacing out the game very slightly. And then the power has been restored, and we return as Grace to the hatch switch, opening it, and letting all the sunlight in. Lucky it wasn't nighttime. Then we do one final shot to kill the girl, as she melts into a soup-like consistency. And that's the end of Marie, who was kind of the main enemy for Grace, and then after this, well, Grace has very little gameplay. And that is one of the issues with RE9. It was almost balanced perfectly between Grace and Leon. It leans just a little bit too much to Leon for the rest of the game. If in between the next section there was one more Grace section before the final area written in, for whatever reason, the balance between them would have been perfect in my opinion. Grace returns to Emily, but Emily is apparently dead. She tries giving them CPR.
Emily, hi, it's me. I'm right here.
Leon arrives and shoots the mutated Emily, while Grace begs Leon not to. Grace feels full guilt for this happening to Emily, and mentions how it's her fault again, referring to Alyssa, her mum, dying. Leon tries to tell her he understands because he also carries the guilt for those he couldn't save, apart from that nurse, we don't talk about her. Grace, however, is in full grief and tosses back the Requiem, but Leon starts coughing up blood due to his Raccoon City Syndrome disease, showing it's getting worse. It's here we can take a look at a file that you don't pick up, it gets automatically added, explaining this disease a bit more. It occurs when the T-virus in the body mutates over a long period of time, and it results in death for all those affected. It happens in stages. The virus is dormant, unpredictable, undetectable. Due to the presence of specific antibodies in the virus, it begins to build an immunity to the antibodies over time, which results in Stage 1, the activation, the black bruise marks on the body and the coughing. Then further along, Stage 2, more bruises and numbness where the bruise is, which when Gideon cut Leon's neck he felt pain, so he knew he wasn't at Stage 2. The mark then spreads to internal organs and can lead to coughing of blood, so Leon is currently at Stage 2. Then the final stage, number 3, is when the black marks are spread across the entire body, causing fatigue and pain, constant vomiting of blood, and then those infected usually die in 1 to 2 hours. Grace keeps wandering, completely lost in herself and given up, before she runs into Gideon, who was waiting for her.
Elpis is within reach, Grace. I'd like you to come with me.
Come with you.
Well, you feel lost, but you're not. You're exactly where you need to be.
I've been waiting for you, Grace.
Who are you?
Raccoon City. You're the reason for its destruction, but you're also the key to building a brave new world. You're the final piece. Let us show you your true purpose.
Now this man, Zeno, bears a striking resemblance to Albert Wesker, who died in RE5, so he's most likely a successful clone of Wesker. He also has the Raccoon City syndrome, but what's strange is he isn't weakened by it. Let's break down this cutscene a bit more, because Sherry has been looking into Elpis and taken pain medication for her illness. She's gone so far to look on FBI and Pentagon servers for any mention of this word, Elpis. And there's been nothing, which suggests it's very high security or unknown to anyone but Gideon and Zeno. Leon drives past the same Mesoil gas station he parked in Resident Evil 2, and a skeleton lies on the road. Leon's Jeep is actually still at the ruined gas station all these years later. But what's most interesting is Sherry was told to shut down any investigation when she requested it, which sounds like the government is hiding something about Elpis.
We're in this together. Till the end. I've always been good at working in the shadows.
Just don't do anything too risky, yeah?
Me? Never.
I'm gonna find Grace. She definitely has something to do with Elpis.
Leon arrives at Raccoon City and it's a place frozen in time. The newspaper's still on the date of the call for evacuation. Remarkably, the bomb that was detonated on the city, or missiles, has not destroyed all the buildings. Many remain intact. Raccoon City is just covered in history and missing people posters, which really sets the lost to time atmosphere. Especially after playing RE2 and RE3 and many Resident Evil games with Raccoon City, where you saw what the city looked like, but now it's an ash-filled, lifeless wasteland, instead of a zombie-infested, relatively nice city.
It's like time stopped here.
If not for Umbrella, it could have just been a normal city.
Yeah. Now it's nothing but ash and memories.
There's a very Silent Hill-esque message in one of the buildings, graffiti saying, "Can you hear it too?" with a question mark. Though in-game, I think it's just reminding you to listen out for the Raccoon City bobbleheads, because in this location, they can appear out of bounds and must be shot from afar. We can also find letters from Merrill, which is revealed to be Officer Marvin's kid, the policeman who Leon encountered in the RPD during the Raccoon City incident. The letters talk about her running back to find her dad, who warns her not to enter the RPD, and then she finds George Scott, a co-worker of her father, but he is injured after a fight with the undead. She tries to help with his wounds, but he dies, and then Meryl's last letter talks about her trying to seek refuge in Kendall's gun shop. It's not revealed what happened to her, but she most likely died in the incident as well. Leon makes his way through some ruined buildings, but gets stuck on a door that's covered in cobwebs. Pushing through, he steps back into the outside. This is probably the most annoying boss fight in the game, the massive spider, the Titan Spinner it's called. You just have to run away from it at the start since it just knocks Leon through a wall. And the actual idea for this boss fight is cool, fighting a spider in a ruined building. And there's also swarms of baby spiders. It's more the hitbox of the main spider that makes this fight very frustrating on higher difficulties. Because on normal, you will just randomly be hit by the spider's legs, and it's like tiny little hits that you don't notice. You can parry them, but each hit also stuns you, and the camera really doesn't help you. On higher difficulties, you obviously cannot take as many hits. There is a weak spot on the spider's back though, and after a lot of shooting and running, Leon gets grabbed by the spider, that hatchets it in the head till it dies, and crashes through the building.
I miss our Raccoon City hospitality.
Leon is now in an underground train station, which should bring back a lot of nostalgia for any RE3 remake players, and also rage at remembering how much they butchered that remake. Leon then finds the city center barricade with someone having rigged it to explode, just without the actual detonator. He then finds a BSAA camp.
The Army Corps of Engineers erected it to seal the city. It goes on for miles.
Guess the only way in is through then. Sure, there's an old BSAA camp here. Place is trashed. Looks like they left in a hurry.
What were the BSAA doing in Raccoon City?
Interesting.
What is it?
The computer's not locked. And they were also headed to the center of Raccoon City.
Interesting too. That reminds me. I dug a little deeper in the Pentagon's database and I noticed something's missing.
What's that?
There's no record of anyone ordering the missile strike on Raccoon City.
Leon triggered the alarm. It looks like your campaign to make the DSO stand down really didn't work, Zeno.
I'll leave this matter to you, then.
It's at this part of the game, everything changes. Yeah, it's kind of wild, but we get introduced to so many new mechanics, and the game goes from a survival horror to a large open zone action game, which, hey, I really like these kind of games, and sections. We get a tactical tracker, a device that will record points depending on how many kills we get. Strangely, a note tells us about the Engineer Corps. They're the ones ordering to blow up their own barricade. So it looks like the US government wants to get to the center of Raccoon City as well. Looking around the camp, it's now our base for this section, and the supply box has completely changed. We can't store anything as Leon, we can only buy and sell and get storage upgrades. However, we have access to so many more weapons than Grace ever did. shotguns, snipers, pistols, body armor. We can even just straight up buy ammo. Though we need points, and to get points we need to get kills or complete in-game challenges. Again, the whole game's design has just completely changed. It's fascinating and very bold to do this halfway through your game. This honestly feels like what would be a mercenaries mode, which is not in the game for some ungodly reason, probably to make it a free update later on. We can also upgrade our weapons here, so we find these tactical trackers, of which there are varying rarities, and the rarities provide more points. You keep them in your inventory, then you stack up all the kills, that stacks up to the points, and then you sell them to get your points. And then you can upgrade and buy more weapons. Our overall objective is to find the 3 detonator parts. We first go into a warehouse, but Leon notes there's no bodies. That should be here after the missile hit, or they just exploded. Unlucky for us, it seems the zombies went underground or were buried in the rubble. That's probably more accurate. Now the game throws tons of enemies for Leon to kill in flashy, devastating action. We have to shoot down chains to get up to ladders while clearing out all zombies because we want as much points as possible. What's really cool is you can actually take out zombies from pretty far away in other buildings, since this is a massive open zone of the ruins of Raccoon City. Finding the first detonator part, Leon using binoculars maps out his surroundings and where else he can find the remaining ones. We now can choose where we want to go first. Thankfully, we also unlock shortcuts, in this case an elevator back to our base camp. Upgrading wise, the smartest thing to do is spend points on your hatchet, because powering is just hands down the most useful thing in this entire game. So raising that durability is the first thing you want to do. There was a lot to explore in this city, and it takes a large chunk of gameplay. There's even a part where you go into a building, then you have to split up into 2 sections to get 2 batteries just to open up a barricade, which is a bit of overkill in the padding, especially when one of the batteries is in an underground parking lot that's slightly flooded, and it's a fun fighting arena. You open up the back of trucks to get resources. I did get quite lost on how to get back though, having to go on top of the cars. The second battery area though is just quite annoying. It's a sewage facility, not a sewer. But the next worst thing. Yeah, the environment is just kind of stone and rust, and there's a lot of dangerous enemies to fight here, but you'll have absolutely no issues with ammo anymore. Another blister bow in his fault as well, creating many blister heads from its gas in this area. And that's kind of it for this battery. It's just that dull area and a lot of enemies. Then you loop back around and now you have 2 batteries. I think just the underground parking area would have been fine, honestly. Opening up the gate, Leon gets access to more of the streets of Raccoon City, where a few zombies roam around, but they can be easily taken out by stealth attacks. A discovery Leon does make, however, is the dead bodies of recent BSAA members.
Encountered 3 infected and eliminated them. That's correct, sir. Do we proceed?
So the rumors were true? What rumors? The missile wasn't just about stopping the spread. Don't be ridiculous.
Affirmative. Listen up. Our objective hasn't changed. We rendezvous with the advanced party in the center of Raccoon City, then head for ARK. Our mission is to retrieve Elpis. Move out! Man down! The first one! Cut the left, cut the down! Holy shit!
What are we doing here?
All in good time. You'll see.
So Zeno has a gun that just removes people from existence, but we have confirmation the BSAA are also trying to retrieve Elpis. And the missile strike in Raccoon City on October 1st, 1988 was not only to stop the spread of infection, but actually had some other hidden purpose that was the main purpose. We also now know the BSAA are trying to head into something called ARK. From the BSAA member's corpse, we now have the keys to any BSAA containers that are dumped around the city. We then head into some apartments that feel like they were ripped right out of Silent Hill 2. And inside we learn the BSAA have brought in literal heavy weaponry capable of firing mortars. So they expected some kind of resistance. We drop down the top of the apartment and there's a new zombie type. BSAA zombies. How many times can I say BSSA in one section? And they're still holding their gun and will spray shot around the place. They also have armor on, so it's harder to kill them and get headshots. With the crank, we can now get to the roof of the apartment, and this is where the game goes crazy. It's very much personal preference if you enjoy this part, or maybe you think it's going a bit too far, and leaning a bit too close to Resident Evil 6. So essentially, as well as fighting the zombies on the roof, you have to dodge literal mortar shots from afar. You can kill the operator of them, but there's more than one, and you really have to get into the range for a lot of them. Now, I found this fun because I like ridiculous stuff and set pieces, but I can admit this is very different than the horror tone the rest of the game had. And it's giving me Resident Evil 5 flashbacks, a game I will forever defend, but I will also admit is not scary in the slightest. Running through exploding rubble, Leon can actually get on the weaponry, though first we take a huge hit from a zombie that's stuck a grenade on themselves. They will grab onto you and explode. There's really no shot Leon should have survived that, but we also got to commend Capcom for having this much enemy variety, even if most of them are zombies. You more creatures though would have been appreciated. Once on the weaponry, you can blow up every single enemy quickly and efficiently. It's ridiculously overpowered, as it should be. And it also gives me some Gears of War flashbacks. A lot of Requiem really takes inspiration from various different games over the years. I mean, most games do, but what I mean is Requiem straight up feels like a PS3, Xbox 360 era type game. And I love that because I prefer my video games being less realistic and more video gamey. A game design philosophy that feels quite missing in modern AAA gaming nowadays. Saying this, Requiem is also one of the most cinematic games ever, so it's a strange blend. Once on top of the building, we get another note saying we have to go get a repair kit from the camp, which is where we just were heading anyway, so it's not too much of a bother. However, all the enemies start heading towards Leon and we once again play a tower defense game. We just did the mortar part and it was fun to get to the mortar, but now I'm just shooting missiles at slow-moving enemies to be able to backtrack. It's just a time waster. We also unlocked a shortcut back to the camp though through the apartment, so it's not too much trouble.
By the way, I found some evidence of the Pentagon putting pressure on the BSAA. It appears the North American branch has been moving independently.
Heard they had an internal dispute. Think it's related?
That's all I've got. There's been an increase in government surveillance. Looks like my fan base is growing.
Some things never change. Watch your back. I'll contact you soon.
We then have to find fuel. Thankfully, there's a nearby gas station. But as soon as we pick up the gas can, a chainsaw zombie comes bursting through. And now we have to survive a wave of zombies and chainsaw enemies. But like usual, we can pick up the chainsaw to make our lives easier. But what's really great about this arena is the gas canisters explode, causing fire to spread, blocking our path unless we want to take damage, and lighting the zombies on fire. It's nice to have some variety in the environment. That's something Requiem does really well. This encounter then ends with a 1v1 chainsaw battle, parrying it, then using our own chainsaw to block his attacks and cut him to pieces. We now fill up the fuel can and can use that around the zone to unlock even more areas we previously couldn't. The best set piece in this area though is climbing the ruined tower. Another favourite of mine in games, climbing ruined buildings. I don't know what it's about it, but it's just really fun to me. And as Leon, we have to break through doors, balance on beams, though you can't actually fall off, it's not Tomb Raider, and dodge gravity itself with falling containers. Then at a certain part of the game, it becomes Maze Runner the Scorch Trials, as Leon lands on some very unstable glass windows. And then zombies appear. We can choose to shoot the glass under them and take many out, but we have to be careful, because breaking the glass could break more than we intended and send us falling crashing down into the streets below. The grenade enemies really don't help with this. It's a very fun and heart-pumping sequence. My only issue is it ends too soon, which also makes sense because there's only so much glass on one building. Having gotten all the detonator parts, we make our way back down, and that involves fighting a lot of enemies on ruined buildings, my favourite. Being up this high, you can really see how large Raccoon City is. I don't remember it being this large in the other games, but that might just be because they were set at night. Surprisingly, all Raccoon City sections in this game are set during the day. And we were also mostly on ground level half the time. After clearing them out, we have to ride a construction elevator platform down, and as we do, zombies from the apartment start breaking through the windows. Really looks like Call of Duty Zombies, even the wooden barriers look the same. It's here I had to use the Requiem again because you can't actually move anywhere here, and there's a lot of enemies. Leon then arrives at the bottom floor, just missing a fall to his death, and it's back to a dark environment, being inside the ruined building. We then run through some underground pipes just near the surface and end back up on the streets. Leon finds a bike in the BSAA crate, blasts open the barricade, and then we get the most insanely ridiculous yet incredibly fun bike section. Leon riding on the highway of Raccoon City, making ramps from rubble and rusted cars, but a nasty surprise awaits him as Gideon just so happened to know where he would be and fires an RPG at him, which misses and then sends mutant dog enemies that kind of also look like rats after us. Leon has infinite ammo for this section, so it's kind of a turret section when you think about it. And he has to shoot enemies, which you can't really mess up because you have infinite ammo unless you just suck at aiming. Then Victor Gideon himself also rides a bike, and yes, this is what RE9 has become. From grey survival horror to chasing a massive evil scientist on a bike chase while being hunted by mutant dog creatures riding on rooftops and through skyscrapers. Only in a Resident Evil game could you get a game that has such scary sections and then the most ludicrous sections you've ever imagined. Gideon keeps shooting down buildings to block our path, but luckily for Leon, the red propane tank milkman has been around the city, leaving shiny new red propane tanks for Leon to shoot at, and thankfully, they're all beside the gates Leon has to go through. Gideon suddenly remembered he can shoot his RPG at Leon again, but he also stops doing that and shoots a bigger building to stop him. But luckily, this massive, ruined knockdown tower has made the perfect bike ramp for Leon S. Kennedy to ride up the building and Aura Farm at the top. It makes no sense, but I love it. Leon and Gideon then get into a duel with one another, Gideon doing his classic choking move, then turning into a western standoff on the motorbikes. This is just a movie at this point. Leon shoots better, though, knocking Gideon off the bike as he slides off the highway and his bike explodes beside him.
Should have worn a helmet.
He has now made it to the center of Raccoon City and where Resident Evil 2 took place. The bike is now out of fuel, so we have to go on foot. Walking through an alleyway, Leon ends up right outside the Raccoon City Police Department, the exact same path he took when first fleeing from zombies many years ago.
It's on you now.
The flashbacks Leon witnesses when opening the doors again show us Leon still hasn't forgiven himself for failing to save people during the incident. He is still haunted by that failure, just not the nurse one day ago. Returning to the RPD, the statue is now missing its head and the police department is half destroyed. Now, the Raccoon City Police Department is what I personally use as the pinnacle of video game location gameplay design. The way it all loops back into the center, the gameplay of the corridors, the items, the puzzles, it's all, in my opinion, the most perfect level design for survival horror. And in RE9, I mean, half the place has been blown to smithereens and is blocked by rubble. But I'm actually glad, because this location shouldn't be fully explorable again. It was perfect, and we don't need to go through that again. And RE9 uses this to full effect. If you just play the main story and you don't explore, you're out of this building in less than 10 minutes. But if you do explore, there's some fun nostalgic references to find and a scavenger hunt. Leon finds a photo showing the BSAA were here in 2023, with the name ARK being written on the photo. He then looks at the ground and his Welcome Leon banner has been taken from the room and placed here. And a note saying you can't save anyone, probably left by Zeno. but the way to that office needs a tool to open it up. It's kind of strange to have what is a Wesker clone and your main character hasn't actually met Wesker in any of the games. So the impact is just kind of lost, and also the thought of Grace following behind Zeno as he carefully writes out "you can't save anyone" and takes a banner to place it there is kind of hilarious and very petty. The RPD mostly acts as a trip around memory lane, mentioning how the old puzzles we did don't work anymore, and letters from the cops talking about how they prepared for Leon's arrival back in the day. It's all very interesting, and the music here actually uses some of the parts from the OG game. Leon pays respect to Marvin Branner at his desk, and it's a nice touch to honor his character and the impact he had on Leon. Shockingly, one Raccoon City police officer is still around as a zombie. It's not scary though, it's kinda just sad that they lived this long as a zombie. And Leon's tone has completely changed in the RPD. He's not making one-liners, he's very mournful. It really shows how the incident changed him, and now that he's back here, naturally he's been flooded with memories and sadness and regret. The RPD isn't just a place of horror, it's a mass grave for many innocent people. And to Leon, it's more people he feels he failed to save, despite it being impossible for him to have done so. We can even find the skeleton of the zombie whose jaw was removed, with his jawbone lying beside him. The library is particularly shocking, from how stunning it was in Resident Evil 2 to being rubble-filled and just in ruin. And to be very nostalgic, the mechanic jack we used to move the staircase is right where we left it. And now we're going to use that one more time to unlock the shutter door. But before progressing, we look around more. The linen room is unable to be gotten into, now blocked off. Many of the looping hallways now end in dead ends. But we can get into the STARS office and look back at the legacy of Resident Evil. Barry left a scavenger hunt for kids that was obviously never completed, so we're going to do that now. Rebecca Chambers' medical bag is still here, but this time it's empty. No more free first aid spray, which is kind of a metaphor to me. It sums up the whole RPD station. This time it's the end. There's no more stuff you can get. You've explored it all. You can just appreciate what once was. Chris's jacket has another photo by Barry telling us where to look for the hunt. Jill's STARS hat is still here, but it's dirty and weathered, though if cleaned it would still be wearable. There's even a Raccoon City bobblehead, but since we destroyed it ages ago, it's not a new one, it's the same one we destroyed. We've been here and already done everything, that's the message this section tells us. In Wesker's office is the original STARS member photo from 1996. And going back down, another zombie remains, trying to break into the vending machine, another neat callback. Hearing a strange yet oddly familiar bouncing sound, we catch a glimpse of Tofu, the bonus character in RE2, bouncing around wearing their STARS cap outside. They run away if they spot Leon, but continue to keep on bouncing and appearing at windows. It's a very cool Easter egg. Strange though on a first playthrough, it's a bit immersion breaking. Using the photos, we find keys on the monitor that say JoJo on them, probably a reference to the anime. Finding the locker for the keys, inside is a bunch of cool stuff. A Sega Saturn, a Street Fighter Alpha poster, a Mega Man 8 game case, as well as Street Fighter Alpha 2 and a Resident Evil one, or as it was known in Japan, Biohazard. Barry really was giving these kids the haul of a lifetime. But not just that, there's also 2 tickets for the Raccoon City Zoo, and a STARS emblem charm. If we check Barry's to-do list, however, he mentions that he was to make the training plan for Leon, join Jill at the shooting range, pick up the girls from football, but top priority was finding a missing library book, and that Wesker was the last one who checked it out. If we open Wesker's desks and wait a bit, a slip falls out telling us that the book we have to find is The Medicinal Benefits of Herbs, with Albert Wesker being the last one to borrow it. Going back to the library, we find the book, and on the page is the classic picture of STARS member Rebecca Chambers in her basketball outfit that Wesker seems to always have. On the back is the words Rising Rookie Rebecca, with the R's capitalized. And with that we have a safe code, so going back to the STARS office we find a case, we enter the letters, and get Wesker's glasses, which is the charm for the Requiem, increasing the bullet penetration for no limit, which is crazy, and increasing the damage of the last bullet. With that done, Leon uses the mechanical jack, and the bloodstains from the bodies are still there. Leon then overhears Zeno and Grace, with Grace having no idea what this building is.
Covert military units from every country on Earth come to Raccoon City for one purpose: to find Elpis.
What is Elpis?
The power to upset the military balance of the world. The last virus, created by Spencer. Designed to control human consciousness.
Mind control?
They couldn't let it be stolen. So they launched the missile strike to hide it.
To hide a virus? Why do something so extreme?
Extreme? Is it? When the president tried to investigate, they had him assassinated. And you are the key to retrieving Elpis.
Emily.
In a way. But not the girl you met. So many attempts. So many failures. Such a waste.
What do you mean?
Copies. Crafted to duplicate you. All useless. All scrapped. They each have their own sad story.
Okay, so this cutscene has revealed a lot on the surface. We've learned that various organizations and military units from all over the world have been coming to Raccoon City over the years, which is why there's a lockdown and no rebuilding plan, and they want to find Elpis, which is the last virus created by Oswald Spencer, and what they think is the ultimate weapon. A weapon that can control human consciousness. They think this because of the research we found and Spencer's previous experiments into mind control. And because this virus couldn't be stolen, that's the other reason someone decided to missile strike Raccoon City, with the cover story being it was to stop the spread of the T-virus. The president who tried to investigate was assassinated for doing so, and this is actually the first chapter of Resident Evil 6, when he wanted to expose the US government's involvement with Umbrella. So yeah, Leon's the one who technically killed him in a way. Zeno was telling Grace that Spencer successfully made a clone from his experiments that resulted in her. But after Spencer's death, they couldn't find Grace, but they had her medical information, left behind by Spencer, and they continued on Spencer's cloning experiments, injecting Spencer's plasma into clones, trying to match Grace's biological characteristics, thinking that is what makes the subject successful. Essentially, they've been trying to make the perfect clone of Grace, which is what they describe Emily as, a clone of Grace, or in their mind, a failed clone. Zeno then shows Grace a clone from before she was born. This next section is in the Raccoon City Orphanage in 1990, and it's people's least favourite part. There's a running theme in the new Resident Evils or the remakes to have parts like this where there's no combat, it's only scares. And it works for a first playthrough, but it becomes a chore on repeated ones. So I'm kind of confused why we're still getting them. We now play as a little girl called Chloe, waking up overhearing the researchers claim about them all being out of control. We see a picture of the many clones. On leaving the room, Chloe sees her fellow children, but they're now very creepy with glowing red eyes and surgical scars on their bald heads. Shooting them also does nothing, and they snap the neck of a researcher. Chloe then stupidly calls out to them, and the creepy laughing children go after her now. What follows is us hiding and waiting, but it's all very scripted, and it takes quite a while of just doing nothing and waiting to be scared. The environment, the enemies are all there for a very scary encounter, but just waiting around isn't that fun. They slam all the beds before hearing a female researcher scream in fear, and Chloe can now leave the room, finding many dead researchers. Going to the front area of the orphanage, the creepy girls start coming down the stairs. Originally, I thought it would be a scripted event. And I was horribly wrong. What you have to do is hide under a table and once again, wait. Yeah, again, I get the whole scary angle, and it's one of the most disturbing things. It's just something about their creepy laughs. Those children are terrifying. But waiting around for a scare to happen in safety isn't particularly engaging. The girls drop and break their neck, fix it, and luckily don't face Chloe hiding under the table. And then they walk into a hallway. The only way to go here is to follow them there, and turning around the corner, 2 of them are just standing there. And this to me is actually a bad game design. We've identified the threat is in front of us. And standing there, they're not moving, they're just standing there. So we think, well, we can't pass through there. We do see a window, but there's no way to get to it. So what's our solution here? Well, stupidly, it's to go back under the same table we were just hiding, and then when we go back round the corner, those 2 girls have decided to now disappear. But not inside the room. They've just disappeared, and we haven't seen them leave from the front because that's where we were hiding. So this makes absolutely no sense, and for a section that has very little gameplay, I don't get how they thought this would be a good solution. It's literally killing time, waiting under a table, to then go into a corridor, to pop our heads back under the table, to trigger the enemies to then despawn. A very odd, tedious section, especially with how the game has taught us in the rest of the game to try and think our way logically, and be rewarded for thinking logically. Making her way into the room, Chloe climbs on the drawers to get a key, to open a hatch. But when she grabs the key, the children, wherever they were, break through, so once again we have to hide. But what this section does really well, and only really works in first person, is the shadows of the children getting closer to you, making you think you aren't safe before seeing the child just about to turn around the corner, before then getting distracted by another sound. This works, it's actually scary, and we also weren't stuck under a table. We chose where to hide. We then open the hatch and end up in actual catacombs by following a remote control fire truck that sounds like an ice cream truck. Is this explained why the toy was here? I don't know, maybe Pennywise is here. Could you imagine a first-person It game from the POV of a child? That'd be cool. Anyway, dark, candle-lit catacombs await Chloe. And Umbrella's secret stone doors, which opens up to a ladder, but Chloe can't reach the ladder. She's too small. She does find a switch, though, which opens the locked gates, and she finds tons of coffins. Thankfully empty, but a name tag on it reads Charlotte, age 7, female, died January 14th, 1990. A month before this flashback takes place. And that she was discarded due to volatile symptoms. Clearly the experiments on these clones aren't exactly going well if they have mental instability, and also get glowing red eyes for some reason. Chloe then pulls on more coffins to make a pathway up and over an iron-gated room, finding a fire poker, which should let her pull down the ladder. As she goes to leave though, the laughing children have found her. But they don't attack her, they like to play with their prey. They start climbing up the ladder after her, but she shuts the hatch on them. And now she's found herself in some kind of high-technology lab. She finds a note talking about Series 60, which is the name of the cloned girls. Spencer has always been trying to advance the human race, and in this time frame achieve immortality with his research into memory transfer. This is why all those girls have surgical scars on their heads. They were injected with Spencer's plasma. And plasma, if you don't know, is the yellow liquid component of blood that carries blood cells around the body. You know, this plot is semi-close to Batman Arkham Knight's Joker blood. Anyway, this didn't, as you can see, work, as it resulted in the Series 60 clones getting turned into whatever the hell they are, because they had all that foreign DNA in the T-virus that turned them insane and violent. But when adjusting the viral load in the blood of Series 70, which is what Chloe is, she is being monitored as being more stable. We see a picture on a monitor of 1987 where Oswald Spencer visited the orphanage, and is surrounded by many little girl clones. Strangely in Requiem, the pictures are live action, not game graphics. A new researcher's notebook names this Oswald E. Spencer's lab, and that ARK is a secret facility under a secret facility. Resident Evil really loves having secret facilities. But ARK is under the orphanage, and also attached to it. The new researcher notes how creepy the children are, who just giggle if you look at them, showing the volatile symptoms happen slowly over time. He also notes the children were used for human experiments, and that Spencer must be even more unhinged than he originally thought. But this doesn't discuss the researcher in any way, he loves it. And they are very messed up, looking forward to freely experiment on these children. Shows you the kind of mad people they hire. Chloe then walks into a corridor that has embryos being kept in a high-tech incubation system. This is how the original clones are made. She then wanders and sees a projector showing the surgery and the growth of the clones, with the final slide showing her. As she's watching this, a still alive researcher approaches her from behind, sedating her, then checks her eyes and sees she's developing the same symptoms, and they plan to discard of her, like the many others. We then see Grace and Zeno have watched all this play out on the old security footage.
They weren't able to recreate Spencer's key. But now we have the original. We have you. You can unlock Elbridge at ARK. That's where we'll go.
So, what, I was made?
Correct.
So it really was all my fault.
Okay, so this cutscene is where a lot of the plot confusion comes into play because of Zeno claiming Grace is the original, which if you look at how old Grace is and the time frame, that wouldn't make any sense. It would make a lot more sense to think maybe she's just the successful version of the cloning program, which Zeno calls the key to unlocking Elbridge in the ARK. So Zeno is probably thinking she has the memory of Spencer in her, and that Spencer successfully was able to create her to hold memory and be able to survive the T-virus infection. Grace, upon learning this, starts to have panic attack, blaming all the suffering and death that's happened on herself. What's interesting is what we see as flashbacks to memories, however it's in a film reel filter, and all the images of the cloning are just stuff we saw in the flashback from the Chloe section, and what we saw on the screens. Leon arrives and takes a shot at Zeno, who dodges just like Wesker. He's most certainly confirmed to be a Wesker clone.
Sorry, but I don't have time to spare. Have fun.
I remember you.
Oh, God. I remember that, too.
So Mr. X is back, though it's not the actual one from Resident Evil 2, since Tyrant models are mass-produced, and we saw what happened to that one. But it's an awesome callback. Leon was waiting and overheard the whole conversation between Zeno and Grace. Mr. X smashes through the wall, but attempting to fight him now is not wise. So we have to run round a small section of the RPD, but Leon has actually learned to jump gaps in RE9. And now we're in the upper part of the station, the Chief's office. Mr. X actually uses the tail of the helicopter that crashed in RE2, which is still around, to try and slice Leon. And the range on this thing is deceptive. Dodging that and running away, suddenly the Tyrant stops chasing. Yeah, for how cool this was, it's quite short and there really shouldn't be any indication Leon is safe yet. But the Tyrant actually won't show up if you explore around the RPD again. Before heading to the Orphanage though, we take a little detour into the RPD garage, finding more police officer zombies, an abandoned base with a new scope, with a cute bear charm, the one Ada Wong gives to Leon in RE4 when she throws the keys at him, and also the exact place we first met Ada in RE2. Leon then takes to the streets and heads into Kendall's gun shop.
Terminate. It's my order. You're a cop. You're supposed to know something. How did this happen? Makes sense. What they did to us.
I'm so sorry.
This is my favorite cutscene in the game. Leon and the players getting the closure on an off-screen death, Kendall and his daughter. Seeing their skeleton, seeing time has passed and being reminded of the pure evil that Umbrella did to families and many, many victims. While posing as a pharmaceutical company, it shows how much these deaths have deeply affected Leon. He swears it will never happen again, and this is his drive, why he will always fight against Umbrella. Even now, as he's on death's door with no cure, he will literally fight till he drops dead to prevent a tragedy like this ever happening again. But now he has the chance to end Umbrella for good. He swears it will never happen again, and this is his drive, why he will always fight against Umbrella. Even now, as he's on death's door with no cure, he will literally fight till he drops dead to prevent a tragedy like this ever happening again. But now he has the chance to end Umbrella for good.
I couldn't save them. But I can stop bastards like you.
The Mr. X fight is my favourite boss in the entire game, gameplay wise and thematically, as this is a veteran Leon and you can parry literally every attack. And the animation of the tyrant just looking stunned as you block his running attack and slowly turn his head to where Leon moves to is amazing. Mr. X also throws the bounciest cars ever made. It turns out you can parry them as well. I didn't even attempt that though because it's a bouncing car. This fight isn't particularly difficult. You shoot at his chest till he goes down, then hack at him with the hatchet. It's the same pattern for literally every single boss fight with Leon. It's more the fact that it's Leon versus Mr. X again, but this time he's not the scared rookie running away. Now he can take him on one-on-one without needing Ada to give him a rocket launcher. After a lot of bullets, Leon takes down Mr. X. The orphanage has barely survived, but the entranceway underground is opened up from all the damage, leading right into the underparts of the city. The bomb has made cliffs, or what remains of it in this case, is just trains barely hanging on. And we get a new enemy, flowers. Leon does his best Nathan Drake, falling out of a train impression, then finds BSAA supplies and rappels down into the chasms below Raccoon City, which has been infested with roots, but not normal looking ones of course. The gameplay section here requires the player to literally watch their feet for roots and then shoot a flower in the face. Sadly, there's no poison ivy in this game. Like most Leon sections, this fight ends in a massive flower boss fight. It's nothing too complicated. You dodge the large vines, which I was not that great at, and shoot the flowers when they appear. Then when it opens up its head, you shoot it to pieces. It really does look like the Batman Arkham Asylum giant flower boss fight though, I'm not crazy, right? And then once again, doing enough damage, it knocks over a crate that just so happened to have red propane tanks. I swear, if the story DLC is just Ada going around planting these for Leon, I would not be disappointed. Or maybe it's the red propane tank milkman. Shooting them explodes and sets the flower on fire. Leon then finds himself outside the entrance to ARK. Conveniently having a big umbrella logo, of course, because you want this place to remain as secret as possible, and then you place a recognizable brand on your door. What's really cool is we see supplies from other companies like TriCell from Resident Evil 5 and HCF, an organization we still haven't seen. And like most Resident Evils, it's a lab area. Out of the remakes, ARK is hands down my favorite laboratory in terms of design. Walking down corridors, we can see liquors are suspended in tubes, probably waiting to be sold to buyers. Leon then looks at the monitors on the wall and sees the ARK is still in operation, even having guards on patrol. This place really looks like the inside of the Death Star. Also, an amazing attention to detail is Leon's physical posture over time has gotten worse because of the disease. Leon then heads to another room, finding the security footage, and sees Grace and Zeno in the central refining system, Pandora. He also spots the security that the monitor mentioned, and this is one of the first times in a mainline Resident Evil game that we fight actual humans. The lights go out and we can shoot smoke canisters to hide their vision. They walk around with flashlights, and if they see you and shoot Leon, you'll die very quickly since it's a gun. This is very Metal Gear-like and not what I would expect from a Resident Evil game, but I personally enjoyed it because it's not too long of a section and it varies the gameplay a bit. There's one more massive room with them, and you can choose to climb up the walkway and have the high ground, or try sniping from the back end of the room. You can also, to make things a lot easier, shoot the liquor in the glass to free them, and that will take them out. But there's a good variety of choice to handle things here. And the elite guards even have a brand new enemy type carrying a riot shield. Weirdly, this is the only time this appears in the game, and I've played enough Rainbow Six Siege to know you have to shoot the exposed parts of the body like arms and legs to get around the riot shield. After admiring the creepy but cool skeleton statues, Leon finds a room with more information about what ARK actually is. In which ARK is where the most bioweapon research and development takes place, with the most recent experiments being the mutated T-virus. As being used against the BSAA, who have been attempting to eradicate ARK. They also don't just produce bioweapons here, they also sell them, talking about how new bioweapons will increase profits. ARK is a key bioweapon production hub for North America, not just benefiting Umbrella, but also the US government.
Backup is on the way.
Not necessary. I'll neutralize the target myself. Leon Kennedy. We finally meet.
This commander, as he's called, is most likely Hunk, known as the Grim Reaper and kinda like the Boba Fett of Resident Evil if you didn't know about him. And we have a one-on-one boss fight. What's cool here is he's a very honourable character as he waits for Leon to stop coughing before fighting him, giving him a fair chance when he could have just killed him. Again, parrying is the only thing that will save you here since it's hatchet on hatchet, and he's very good at dodging gunfire. It's very much Deathstroke from Batman Arkham Origins like. If you do too many hatchet attacks, he will counter you back, and eventually in the fight, he will do the signature Hunk neck-breaking move. Then he cuts into a pipe, filling the area with smoke, making it harder to see him, and Craw runs around the place. Leon eventually gets the upper hand and slits his throat. We then, from his body, get Mortal Edge, a hatchet with a long bloody history and having more durability than Leon's normal one. It's a nice upgrade. If we look at Hunk's hand, we can see he also had the Raccoon City Syndrome. However, some people think this might not be Hunk and could be a clone. But also when you leave this room, his body disappears. So it's possible, as he is a character known for surviving impossible situations, that Hunk is somehow still alive. Either way, if he's dead, I'm fine with it, because I like to think this game is about wrapping up loose ends, and Hunk was always working with Umbrella, so it's a bit strange that he isn't, well, with Umbrella. It's a mystery though. He could be dead, he might not. He is a character known for surviving, and his body has clearly disappeared.
Grace, this is where we are. The world is under threat. The technology to control another's will already exists, but it's not efficient at infecting others. I believe Spencer solved that with Elpis. The connection sealed Raccoon City to save it for themselves, and it's been waiting here ever since. This is as far as we could get. If the wrong password is entered, the Ark will be destroyed and Elpis will be lost forever. So tell me, Grace, what's the password?
I don't know.
Of course you do. You're the...
Zeno is talking about Resident Evil 7 events about controlling another person's will here. However, it wasn't good at infecting others, so it couldn't be used on a global scale. Zeno here thinks that Elpis is a virus that will let the user be able to mind control anyone. We learn the connections, an organization that's very unknown but seems to be involved in everything, are the ones who sealed Raccoon City to try and get Elpis. This is who Zeno is a part of, the connections. Funny enough, they got to the last stage of being able to unlock Elpis, but literally just needed a password. Which I'm like, could you not just carefully break into the structure holding the virus? The password has the phrase, "What does the creator desire?" So Zeno thinks Grace knows the password because she's a clone who is successful at gaining Spencer's memory.
Leon!
Don't embarrass yourself, Mr. Kennedy. You can't beat me.
Aren't we fancy?
Don't move! Oh, wait! You still need me, right?
So they escape in the most convenient. Leon clearly had no plan, and this weird platform would be in this abyss that they land on. Leon then passes out from his infection.
Leon, are you okay?
How long was I out?
I don't know. A while. Those marks.
It's T-virus. Stage 3 infection.
If you're so sick, why would you come here?
This place. Raccoon City was where it all began for me. When it all happened, I couldn't make a difference. So I am here now.
We can't stop Zeno.
He said something about you having a password. What was he talking about?
I don't know. I'm sorry. Hey, here.
I'm going back. I'm gonna destroy Elvis.
I'm coming with you.
No, you're not.
I don't want any more regrets. Whatever it takes, count me in.
If anything happens to me, you promise you'll end this.
This cutscene is where Leon understands that Grace is just like he was, a rookie, way out of their depth, unwilling to do nothing, and wants to help. Leon's death wish is to take down Umbrella. He's almost died from his infection, and he's on his last legs. He knows Sherry is dying as well, and feels like he's a failure for not stopping this back in 1998. For Grace, it's not just about her being caught up in all of this. She also feels she is personally responsible for all the deaths, as mentioned earlier, as everyone keeps calling her the chosen one, the special one, but she just feels burdened with regrets. When she lost her mother and Emily, she couldn't do anything to help. She's in the exact same position Leon was post-Raccoon City. And then to top it off, uses the exact same words Leon said to Ada, "Whatever it takes, count me in." And the mocap here is perfect because you can actually see when Leon also realizes what she's just said.
My mission is to take down Umbrella's entire operation. We may not make it out.
Whatever it takes to save this city. Count me in.
Whatever it takes, count me in.
Back in the lab part, the ARK Lickers have escaped. But now we're playing as Grace again, so we gotta be sneaky. Lickers are blind and only react to sound. An alarm alerts them to where Grace is. Molotovs are especially effective against them though. Lickers are my personal favourite creature in Resident Evil from design and gameplay. They crawl on ceilings and walls. It's some of the most nerve-wracking gameplay parts. Grace then encounters another new enemy in the game, the ARK Zombies, taller, deadlier, but very weak to acid, which Grace just so happens to pick up. The acid is also good with any exposed tissue creatures, so it's really good against Lickers. She manages to find the key and raise the crane, but she can't get back down. To progress, she has to find these really stunning looking animus orbs to get to the administration area of ARK. She finds the first red one and slots it into the lock, making the red part of the Umbrella logo. And that's a fun switch. Umbrella really do love their logo, and I can see why. We then make our way through a narrow space, ground level with lickers and ARK zombies. Then find a room with the white Nobilis orb. That slots in and completes the Umbrella logo. Inside is a large room with monitors and one big screen showing a lot of articles about Grace. In free cam only, we can read what's on the monitor, which explains Gideon's whole plan of finding an Umbrella's curse victim or Raccoon City Syndrome victim, to plant in the hotel, use his connections with the FBI to make sure Grace is the one assigned to the case, then check if Grace Ashcroft is the same person from 8 years ago, and to do this, he will check how she reacts to the photos of Alyssa and being back in the Wrenwood hotel. Then conduct the test to see if it matches with his medical files he has on the key to Elpis. Then bring her to the RPD to try and get her to cooperate and show her the clone footage, and then bring her to ARK to release Elpis. Grace approaches the monitors and a disc comes out similar to the one Alyssa hid behind the painting that Grace still has perfectly fine despite, being chucked around a lot. She then places her own disc in and clicks on the one called the Creator. We see that Alyssa has had an interview with Oswell E. Spencer, a thing that really doesn't happen.
Life takes unexpected turns, don't you think?
Looking back, do you feel that the choices you've made have contributed to your present circumstances?
Of course. What you sow, you reap. Isn't that the natural order?
So, tell me, Lord Spencer, what would you like the world to know?
The truth. But, a short break before we begin, Miss Ashcroft. I'm not a young man. I don't have the energy I once did.
There's many other files, but one stands out more than the others. Grace, her name. But we cut back to Leon as the crane lifts up a few minutes earlier. Leon is a lot weaker than before and tells Sherry to send for a chopper for evacuation. However, Leon knows he's not making it out of this alive. Once again, the contrast of playing as Leon vs Grace is shown here. The ARK zombies can be taken out with a one tap to the head with the rifle. For this section, as Leon is dying, sometimes he will go into a coughing spree and have blurry vision. It's a thematic gameplay choice to annoy the player and create a sense of urgency. Leon fights through exactly where Grace went, however he deals with a lot more lickers. Then while waiting for an elevator, all the ARK zombies break out, but while coughing and having blurry vision, Leon can still shoot. He then gets into the elevators but is noticeably very weak and communication with Sherry is losing connection. Leon stumbles to the steps of the central refining door and then collapses.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
My research opened Pandora's box, unleashing disaster upon the world.
Except Elpis, the goddess of hope? Or so the myth goes.
A blind hope.
What do you mean?
Humans cannot predict when death will come for them. This is why they have hope. I was wrong, and I am plagued by guilt. Happiness cannot be achieved at the expense of others. I think that's enough for today.
Why did you accept my request for an interview? Who is that? Is that one of your subjects?
Of course not. She was alone in the world. I took her in to make amends.
Is she
perfectly normal? Just an average child needing a home. She is my hope. Aren't you beautiful? Would you like to hold her?
Oh, okay. She's adorable. What's her name?
Grace.
Grace. Is there anything else you'd like to tell me?
I've said my piece. I only hope it serves as a requiem for those who have passed.
From this, we have learned the big secret of Requiem. Grace was adopted by Spencer as he knew he was dying and wanted to do some good, if you believe him. See, this is a very different attitude to how we've seen him in Resident Evil 5, and it does have some explanation later on that we'll go into at the end. Elpis is actually the name of a minor Greek deity of hope, and Spencer refers to his research as opening Pandora's box, which, if you didn't know, the Greek myth of Pandora begins when Zeus gives the first woman a jar filled with all the world's evils but warns her never to open it. Driven by curiosity, Pandora lifts the lid and unleashes sickness, death, and suffering upon all humanity. But just before the jar is empty, she manages to close it, trapping only Elpis, the spirit of hope. Spencer is clearly referring to his research into viruses to try and advance human evolution that has killed many people and changed the world as Pandora's box. But he wants to complete the myth by making hope, as in Elpis, with him stating to Alyssa he considered his work a moral failure and that he was wrong. Grace is Spencer's hope not because she's a weapon or an experiment, but a hope that he himself can save a life, an orphan's life, instead of destroying them like his experiment at the orphanage. Her name being Grace is a saving grace, something that is positive in bad situations. Spencer then claims he said all he wants and hopes it serves as a requiem for those who have passed, possibly finally acknowledging his victims. This is why Alyssa hid this CD, because it reveals a truth that anyone who knew Spencer would never have thought imaginable: an evil egomaniac feeling guilt for what happened. Grace is stunned by the revelations but is alerted to the monitor with Leon collapsing. We get new files, a letter to Alyssa Ashcroft from Spencer's faithful butler Patrick, who tells her that in his later years, Spencer's mind was broken, his speech jumbled, and in a constant state of unrest. This attempts to explain how he acted in RE5, but without the context of seeing it, it's hard to imagine this. This is all the information we have currently. Patrick tells us Spencer's will, which was very hard to understand apart from one part, designating Alyssa Ashcroft as the guardian of his adopted daughter, Grace. Checking another monitor, we get more answers. The state of the US government saying they heard the key, Grace Ashcroft, had been found, and it had been 28 years since they had taken over ARK, with Zeno confirming they had found her and asking about them leaving the treaty, the article Grace looked at in the beginning, with the state responding it's a bluff and the United States will always be at the center of the world, confirming they have full control of the BSAA and they are funding the Connections and their bioweapon productions, with the Connections having taken over ARK when Umbrella went bankrupt, and from that research found out about Grace, possibly from Spencer's will, the only thing that made sense. So they've used that to assume she is important, especially to Elpis. There's one more file in the room, and it's the most mysterious of all because it mentions someone called K.D, who is currently a name not known in Resident Evil lore. This file talks about how all eyes will be on Raccoon City because of the T-virus leak. An ARK could be discovered. KD assures them ARK is secured, and to launch a missile strike to destroy Raccoon City. Not to destroy the virus, but to protect the secret of ARK. And Spencer will take the blame for everything, allowing them to seize Umbrella's assets and research. Grace then prepares to go to Leon. Entering through an unlocked door, we find one of Spencer's wheelchairs at the desk, and we can conclude this was his office in ARK. Also in this room is a painting with the letter M for Mother Miranda. Mother Miranda was Spencer's mentor and how he learned all about parasites.
This is finally my chance to do something.
She finds Leon looking dead by the door. Leon's word here of "I was just resting my eyes" is what Ada said to him in RE6, so that's a cool callback.
Let's do this.
And Leon is determined Grace has to destroy Elpis, and he can buy her time. Grace says no, she has an idea, and Leon trusts her.
I trust you.
The prodigal daughter returns.
I know the password.
Fulfill your destiny, and all will be forgiven.
Only if you let Leon live.
Very well.
The game then gives the player a choice, and I've made a video on player choice and why I think it's not the greatest, but here it really works, because it's making sure you paid attention. Leon is filled with only revenge. He wouldn't believe that any virus should be released, and why would he? He's seen what they can do. Zeno is so obsessed with power and Spencer's research into mind control, but Grace, she's the hope. She has seen what they have in Alyssa's video, and that is the final piece of Pandora's box myth, hope. And Grace types that in as the password.
Okay.
What are you doing, Grace?
Spencer regretted what he did.
Well done.
You promised.
Yes, that I would let him live. Mr. Kennedy, I give you the honor of experiencing my power firsthand.
I'm not sure Elpis is what you think it is. There's nothing special about me. I was never any key. Spencer wanted to make amends.
Zeno was very arrogant and just injected the Elpis into him without knowing what it was, I guess presuming it would let him mind control people and he would use that to make Leon Kennedy hurt himself.
Leon!
Why? My powers!
Elpis is Spencer's atonement. It's an antiviral.
Amazing. I am humbled by my master's genius.
Your research was wrong. Elpis wasn't a weapon. There was never a key.
Spencer's paper was obviously incomplete. There was no connection between Grace and Emily.
Do you know how much time and money I wasted on this?
Don't you see the genius? With Elpis, all virus-based weapons are useless. The world order will be thrown into chaos.
We wanted a weapon.
Instead, Spencer gave us anarchy. I will carry his torch and bring his vision to life.
You? You and Spencer were a means to an end.
Yet he outwitted you all.
Spencer defied us and paid the price with his life. He was nothing.
You are nothing but an imitation.
It's over, Victor. The Connections is done with.
We can't let him have it.
Your ignorance is staggering.
It's a cure.
Okay, we gotta talk about a lot here because it can be confusing with everything going on. Basically, every single character here is working off incomplete information. Spencer had obviously, as stated, been doing research into mind control and the cloning in the orphanage before his death. This is what most of his last research was about, and when Umbrella assets were taken by the Connections, they saw all this research and the name Elpis. But they also learned he had a special child adopted called Grace. So with this information, they concluded that Grace was a chosen one or the success of his memory transfer cloning experiments. As from what they knew of Spencer, they could have never imagined he would have wanted atonement. Which Grace is not a clone, just a normal child Spencer took in, or what he says. And they didn't have this information since that was on Alyssa's CD, they only knew of Grace from probably the will of Spencer. Grace is claiming Spencer wanted to make amends for unleashing the viruses, so created Elpis, the antiviral, that would be the cure to it all. However, she also doesn't truly know or knew Spencer, so she's just got this information from that CD and also assumed. Then you have Victor Gideon, who admits that his original theory about Grace was wrong as there was no connection between Grace and Emily or the clones. He simply had Grace's medical records, assumed that meant Grace was special. Gideon, who was also a researcher on the original T-virus, when learning that Elpis is a cure to all viruses, he brings up the theory that it was Spencer's final play to cause chaos and anarchy by eliminating all those other organizations' bioweapons, which, as you could see, the government had fully funded into. Therefore, Elpis would change everything. Gideon looked up to Spencer as his role model, him saying he wants to continue Spencer's vision and that he would take out all the other organizations, become the head of probably a new Umbrella, and then continue experimenting and killing people to achieve evolution, as they call it. This whole story is every single character assuming the wrong conclusions from incomplete information. Grace isn't special in the way they thought she was. The only special thing about her is Spencer chose to adopt her. The only other plot point could be Grace was injected possibly with the complete Elpis as a baby, so she's not completely normal since she would be immune to viruses. This is just speculation though. Since Elpis is a cure, it actually took away Xeno's virus-based powers, allowing Gideon to kill Xeno the Wesker clone, a very anticlimactic death which brings back some flashbacks, both beheaded. I think his point was to show the Connections can clone people. Gideon starts to destroy ARK, so the Connections can't use the information anymore, and he's taken some of Elpis but not all of it, which is kinda weird to me. Because surely he wants to have more than one vial of Elpis, maybe he'd just make more from the vial he has. But he's also kinda just going crazy anyway. Grace has cured Leon, and he kinda missed all of what happened because he was unconscious.
Grace. Grace!
Time to bury Umbrella's last skeleton.
We now get to the final boss fight of the game, Victor Gideon. Harry has attacked and shoot him, it's really not that different. Gideon is going on about how he will bring Spencer's vision to life and how many will die for this vision. And Leon swore to protect those lives. If you let this fight go on, there's actually some very interesting dialogue between them.
Open your eyes! Humanity is full of drooling imbeciles. They need me, a leader to guide them into a glorious new future.
The humanity I know is far more capable than you realize. They don't want your leadership.
Wasn't it magnificent? Genuine transformation cannot happen without chaos and destruction.
It was a living nightmare. I will never let that happen again.
Yeah, Gideon ain't gonna use Elpis to cure all viruses. He's gonna use it to take down organizations and then control the world with his own experiments. Gideon also uses lightning attacks, absorbing it and firing it in a straight pattern. It's not too hard to dodge though. Then after shooting him a lot, virus tentacles grow out of him and he falls over the edge. Then he turns into what he always was, a nemesis. He had injected a new form of the nemesis parasite and that's why he could regenerate. And yeah, this boss fight is an exact copy of the final nemesis boss battle from RE3 Remake. dodge the attacks, shoot the glowing orbs, so that's disappointing, a reskin of a previous boss fight. That was one of Requiem's weakest areas overall boss fights. I wouldn't say many were that great, the Hunk and Mr. X being the best, but nothing outstanding. It's definitely an area to improve in future Resident Evil games. Leon uses a hatchet to cut the heart of Gideon's nemesis form, and that's the end of one of the better Resident Evil villains, Victor Gideon. I really liked him in the end.
This time, you ain't getting back up.
Leon then finds Grace unconscious after falling down, and something you might have noticed is Grace was a very panicky, anxious character and always stuttering. But by the end of the game, she no longer stutters, having grown more confident. It's great character development through voice work. Grace and Leon then realize they can't escape the facility, so he goes and they sit together as the lights shut off and the facility collapses.
There's no way out, is there?
Well, I'm not gonna leave your side. I'm gonna sit right here with you.
I guess this is it then.
At the last moment though, bright lights come on and people rappel down. And these are Chris Redfield's Hound Wolf Squad from Resident Evil Village. They were tracking Leon and Chris has a message for him.
Mr. Kennedy, I have a message from Captain Redfield.
Before we get to the epilogue though, this game has a wrong end. By choosing to destroy Elpis, Grace unknowingly destroys the only thing that could have saved Leon. Honestly, Zeno, you really bet on a random girl to guess a password. Not the smartest. I know you thought she had Spencer's memory of it, but she wasn't really showing signs of that. Zeno tries grabbing Grace as ARK begins to fall apart, but Leon saves her and gets her to safety. Then gets into a fight with Zeno. That ends with him getting beaten up. Grace is screaming and crying for him to come with her, but Leon gets taken down very quickly. And as he's dying, he looks up at Grace and says,
"At least I could save you."
Fulfilling his death wish, destroying Umbrella and saving a life. Zeno then pulls out his gun and shoots him in the head, blowing Leon's head completely up. Zeno then looks up as he also falls down into the exploding ARK platform and is unknown if he survived. Though in this ending, Gideon never appeared again, so he is still around. Grace then arrives at the top as the helicopter Leon asked Sherry to bring comes to pick up Grace. So yeah, very much non-canon, and after the credits the game says, do you want to go back and make the right choice? So it's really just a punishment for not paying attention to the story, and it's just an extended game over really.
I'll be damned. Can't believe that antiviral actually worked. Feel better than I have in ages.
Oh, thank God. I'm glad you're okay.
We got a dose with your name on it. We'll be back in action in no time.
Thank you, Leon.
Would have been a lot smoother if Chris hadn't been so late to the party.
Where is Chris, anyway?
No idea. I'm sure I'll run into him at some point. Yeah, I'll call you back. It's over then.
Yeah. Hope this really was our last hope.
Oh, let's pray Umbrella hasn't left us any more nasty surprises.
I wish we could have saved Emily.
Grace. I didn't hit any of her vitals.
Leon gives Grace hope of her own, saying Emily could still be alive as he didn't hit her vital organs, since she was a mutated creature at that point. Leon then takes off his glove and he puts on a ring that caused absolutely no controversy. You can see the ring in the concept art, and I'm going to explain what I think. You can disagree or whatnot, but let's just go over this quickly. I think that this character, if it's a marriage, isn't a typical marriage, but it's most likely Ada Wong, and this is because in all other games and all other stories in Resident Evil, there is only one character that's been consistently Leon's romantic interest, and that is Ada Wong. When I cover the other Resident Evil games, specifically 2, 4, and 6, and Darkside Chronicles, you'll understand why I think it's Ada. Personally, I also think the most interesting story potential is in that pairing, because finding out how a spy and a government agent who have been playing a cat and mouse game for that long, having it concluded, would be satisfying and pay off a lot of plot points. With the time period between the ending of Resident Evil 6, where Helena says this,
For the next time you see her.
Women.
to where Resident Evil 9 takes place, that's a fun playground of development opportunities. Alas, we can only wait to see what they decide to do with this reveal and who will be wrong and who will be right. We get one final cutscene of all the events that happened and all the revelations.
In the ruins of Raccoon City, the origin point for the worldwide spread of bioorganic weapons. This illegal facility appears to have been in operation for decades.
Sources say that the extension of the lockdown and the recent series of mysterious deaths may be related to tragic events in Raccoon City 28 years ago.
Evidence seized in Raccoon City has led the Justice Department to reopen its investigation into Oswald Spencer and the long-defunct Umbrella Corporation. Some believe the government deliberately drove Umbrella into bankruptcy.
The late Alyssa Ashcroft is credited with cracking the Oswald Spencer story. Conspiracy theorists are already claiming that she was killed in a cover-up, and that the organization responsible is secretly controlling our government.
Tonight, in a speech from the Oval Office, the president is expected to reject allegations of any government involvement since the Raccoon City incident.
Then we see they have found Emily still alive in the care center. The credits roll, but there's actually an after-credits scene. Grace is back at work at the FBI, calling Leon, and we find out Sherry's been successfully cured as well. But also Emily was saved, cured, and Grace has adopted her, teaching her how to read. What's beautiful about this is it's a full circle moment. Spencer adopted Grace, who gave custody to Alyssa on his deathbed, and now Grace has adopted Emily, with a picture of Grace, Alyssa, and Grace and Emily, now cured of cataracts, side by side. However, this isn't the end, as we see in the ruins of ARK, the BSAA soldiers, but the Connection's elite squad have killed all who remained in ARK, and retrieved the objective before Chris's Wolf Squad could come in. What they retrieved though, we don't know. Maybe it's Zeno's head. Though we also still have Grace's report summing up a lot of the story and including information we didn't actually learn in the main game, but that was gained from the files at ARK. However, it's also 60 pages long, so instead we're going to use this and the info from the story to quickly summarize and explain the full story of Resident Evil Requiem as simply as possible. With all the information, let's start at the beginning. Victor Gideon was a researcher on the T-virus who greatly admired Oswald E. Spencer, one of the 3 founders of the Umbrella Corporation, along with James Marcus and Edward Ashford. Spencer's goal was for the evolution of humanity and in later life, immortality for himself. Marcus was the one who created the original T-virus, but Spencer had him demoted, also known as assassinated, and took over the T-virus research and begun researching into developing bioweapons to fund Umbrella. ARK was the secret administrative center of Umbrella's research. Elpis actually started development before any experiments of memory transfer, suggesting its original purpose wasn't actually atonement but to be used against anyone else trying to use his research and take out the other organizations. The Connections sent a donation to Marcus in 1986 under the name F Foundation, which the F Foundation was a puppet organization of the Connections that no longer exists. Brandon Bailey is the protege of Marcus Bailey, who was rumored to be the founder of the Connections, but he could also just be a small cog in a larger machine. It's currently unknown. A lot about the Connections is actually not known, and it's a hint to where the rest of the Resi series is going. As Umbrella originally grew, it became large enough that Spencer had trouble controlling it, causing accidents at facilities and information that was leaked to other organizations due to moles in the company. Spencer, however, was able to complete Elpis at ARK. All the original files about Elpis are lost with the destruction of ARK. The only one that remains says Elpis will bring Tricell, HCF, the family, and Umbrella to an end. The only information was that it could upset the military balance of the entire world, but a password known only to Spencer could access Elpis. All the organizations and Victor Gideon thought it would be one last virus that would let people control human minds, since that was Spencer's final research topic. The research involved the Raccoon City Orphanage, where kids were being cloned and experimented on, with Spencer researching memory transfer and how to achieve immortality. When the T-Virus incident happened at Raccoon City, and the city was blown up by missiles ordered by the government to contain it, or so they thought. In actuality, the missile strike was to defend the location of ARK and Elpis, but also to bankrupt Umbrella, to take their assets, and shift all the blame onto Spencer. And it was actually the Connections who caused the destruction of Raccoon City. The Connections had used Bailey to learn about Umbrella's inner workings, which let them secure the ARK facility. At the trials against Umbrella, evidence was given against Spencer by Albert Wesker, who was linked to Tricell, which had ties to the Connections, and it all goes back to the Connections. That org then used ARK to research and produce their own bioweapons. Spencer hid from the public and avoided being arrested, but for some reason allowed one interview by Alyssa Ashcroft. While having lost everything, he apparently sought atonement. And here's where the game doesn't give us a straight answer. You have to choose. Elpis originally can't have been created for atonement, because he still continued the experiments after creating it. Though it's possible that when he lost everything, he saw that Elpis could be used for good and wanted to use it for redemption. This is what Grace believes. However, having lost everything, Spencer could have also just wanted Elpis to be used to render all viral weapons useless, and therefore causing chaos for all the organizations that betrayed him and stole from him. A final, if I can't have it, neither can you, and Elpis's true purpose could have just been a backup plan to be the ultimate winner, sending all the orgs on a useless chase and wasting their time and money. Spencer was a madman, and his actions show this. So he could have been lying about redemption and just done this to screw over everyone else and lead them on this goose chase. And this is what Gideon believed. And the truth is, there is no clear answer, which is kind of disappointing for me when I want to explain everything, but it's what they went with and I have to analyze that. Gideon could have been right, or he could have been delusional and maybe just admiring Spencer too much. Or maybe Grace was right in the end, but she also didn't know Spencer, and the only evidence we have is an interview, and all the files being mysteriously destroyed mean we will never know the true purpose of what Spencer wanted. But it doesn't really matter. Spencer died, he was murdered by Wesker, and no one will know the truth. What matters now is how Elpis is used, in which the cure did work on Leon and Emily. Now with Spencer explained as best as we can and the other organizations, let's go back to Gideon's plan and the plot of the game, now that we have all the answers. So Gideon, once Umbrella went bankrupt, purchased the care center to continue doing his experiments. The Connection seizing Umbrella's assets, learned of Spencer's research and Elpis, as did the other organizations. Gideon, learning Spencer had randomly adopted a child from these files, or his will, incorrectly assumed she was a successful clone who had Spencer's memory and the password for Elpis that they all needed. Victor Gideon, with the Connection's assistance, got Grace's medical records, but they couldn't track down Grace because Alyssa Ashcroft kept going on the move as a freelance journalist and to protect Grace. The Connections, including Zeno, a Wesker clone probably made from Umbrella's research, worked together capturing people and experimenting on them with a mutated T-virus and Spencer's plasma to try and replicate Spencer's memory transfer through blood, which they also harvested the blood from infected victims in the basement of the care center to hopefully create their own successful Grace clone that would be able to handle the T-virus infection and receive Spencer's memory through Spencer's plasma, therefore working out the password for Elpis. Which is bonkers, but that's Resident Evil. The clones mutated from this experiment, Marie into the girl and Emily eventually into that creature which was cured by Elpis at the end. The care center also was just used by Gideon for other experiments on the patients in the care center that was not related to this. Alyssa, unfortunately with her journalist work, eventually led her to Wrenwood, and she stayed at the Wrenwood Hotel near the care center. Gideon, who had still been looking for Grace, found out about this and sent an infected hooded assassin, who isn't mentioned again, to kill Alyssa and bring Grace to Gideon. Alyssa was killed but managed to take out the assassin, and then hid the CD revealing Spencer's final interview behind the painting. Gideon was unable to capture Grace in this time period after this attempt failed, leading us to the start of the game, but Marie's mutation caused Gideon to try and locate Grace again, discovering she worked for the FBI, and around this time the Raccoon City Syndrome had started, which was killing survivors as a result from the T-virus being dormant. Zeno and Gideon used the connection's influence of the government and the FBI to make sure Grace was involved in the investigation of a body who died from the syndrome. This body was planted in the ruined Wrenwood Hotel by Gideon so he could capture Grace. At the same time, Leon and Sherry, who had the syndrome, were investigating the bodies and saw Gideon leaving with Grace, following her to the care center, and we know what happened there, Code 6 infecting all the staff. With the mutated T-virus, Gideon then tested Grace's blood with the medical records of Grace to confirm she was the same person and Spencer's chosen clone. In actuality, she isn't a clone, and Gideon just tested her own medical records with her medical records, which would obviously match, meaning he assumed wrong. In the end, Grace releases Elpis, which it turns out to be an antiviral, and while Spencer's true intentions will never be known, Zeno was killed by Gideon, Leon kills Gideon, who had taken a Nemesis parasite, and then Leon and Grace escape with the help of Chris and his Wolfhound squad, managing to use Elpis to cure Sherry and Emily. With the main story done, the game has a few bonuses. Sadly, no Mercenaries mode yet, but they hinted it could release in May. And a story DLC is confirmed in development, so you know I'm going to make a video on that when that's out. But for now, you can get points from challenges that you can unlock stuff like character models, concept art for the game, and brand new weapons, bonuses like infinite ammo, new weapon upgrades, character skins, and more. It really encourages multiple playthroughs. To get these points, as I mentioned, you want to complete challenges like beat the game without using the blood collector, healing items in under 4 hours. You also just have unlocked challenges through playing the main story to get points to start you off. This really tests what you've learned from gameplay and your own memory. Resident Evil 9 Requiem, in my opinion, is a fantastic Resident Evil game with an interesting story that's very strangely told and requires the notes to truly understand what's going on, so the execution for that could have been a bit better. And I had to discuss a lot with friends to fully understand what was going on and present it in this video. Gameplay-wise though, Grace's sections are incredible survival horror, and Leon's a very fun action gameplay part with explosive set pieces. If they just made a bit more Grace and a little less Leon, then the balance would have been perfect. But now I'm so excited for where the future is going for Resident Evil. This game really honoured and in my opinion ended the Umbrella saga, letting us experience Raccoon City and the police department one final time, while showing they could create just as amazing and intriguing locations like the Rhodes Hill Care Center. I've been a fan of the Resident Evil games since I played Resident Evil 2 Remake, and this is the first time I've been able to make a video on one of these games. Thank you to everyone who watched, and if you would like to support the video in another way, you can join my YouTube membership or Patreon with a link in the description for both, and get your name appearing at the end of the video depending on the tier, a vocal shout out, and every tier gets access to exclusive bonus videos that I make. Now for this video, I'm giving a special shout out to all my YouTube members because I didn't get a notification for people who joined on that, so they didn't actually get their name on the horses video, so I apologize for that. So a vocal special shout out to the Surgical Charm victims on YouTube, Monstrance Clark, Lava Gamer, Leah, Blue Morpho, Novella, Patrizia, Foolish Thing, The First Chiller Killer, and this is just a one-time vocal shout out for this tier. And to the horror game protagonists, Luna Verity, Joan Stone, Frank Ann Beans, Monstrance Clark, And finally to the Hero/Heroine tier, where you can get access to Director's Commentary video discussion on my previous videos. You can listen to the Corpse Party Blood Cover Director's one out now actually, with Unsought being the next one. And those people are Jack Xiao Long, Balabil, Tisol, Audrus, Bakwas, and Leah. Now a final shout out to everyone who made it to the end of the video and have been supporting the channel. This is going to be busy months coming up, because I'm already at the time of this video working to get Fatal Frame 2 Remake out, so I hope you look forward to that. And actually, Corpse Party Dead Patient is going to be the next video, because that game's a lot shorter than the other ones. I can get that out very quickly after this probably. And tons of bonus videos for the YouTube and Patreon memberships, including the Corpse Party Tortured Souls full-on video. So if you want to watch that, you can look at the Patreon and the membership, any tier works. Leave your video suggestions below. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. And we made it through an entire game without a piss joke. Wait, Elpis. Oh no.